A regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District will be held Monday, October the 9th, 2017, beginning at 5 p.m. in the boardroom/administration building of the McAllen Independent School District at 2000 North 23rd Street, McAllen, Texas. At this meeting, there may be discussion and action by the board on the items and subjects listed as follows. Items listed on this agenda may be taken in order other than shown on this agenda. And the regular business portion of the meeting for the public, beginning with agenda item number 3, will begin at approximately 6 p.m. So item 1 is to convene an open session. Item 2, recess to closed session. The Board of Trustees may go into closed session pursuant to section 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. A, human resource recommendations for school year 2017-2018. B, human resource employee resignations for the school year 2017-2018. C, pending and/or potential litigation. And D, possible real estate acquisition. So at 5:01, we will recess to close session. In the meeting room, as well as those that are watching over their computer or mobile devices. It is now 6 p.m. and we are reconvening the 5 p.m. regular board meeting in open session. For the record, no action was taken by the board in closed session. We'll move on to item 4, the invocation. I'd like to ask Trustee Alvarado to lead us in the invocation today.
Yes, please join me. Lord God, we gather to plan for the benefit of our children, administrators, and support staff of our schools. May everything that we do begin with your inspirations. Help us to make good decisions. We come from different walks of life to unite our efforts for the sake of our schools. Send your blessings upon us. May the work that we begin be brought to completion by your power. Grant us what you know that we need. We pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance by Trustee Suarez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on to item 6, the public hearing for the School Finance Integrity Rating System of Texas, School First. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. For the 14th time in 15 years, McAllen ISD has received the state's highest mark by the Texas Education Agency's Schools First Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. And this is the 6th straight year that McAllen ISD has earned a perfect score. Ms. Garcia will tell us more about this awesome honor.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm setting up. Ms. Cynthia Richards-Medranos does have copies of the report, and it's available to the public. If anyone can please raise their hand so that she may pass that information out to them. And I do have a PowerPoint prepared for the public, and I will be going over the information on the first rating. Does everybody have a handout? Just making
Yes.
sure. Okay, great. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. And as Dr. Gonzalez mentioned, the district did receive an A for superior rating. It's the highest mark that the state gives out for accountability purposes in the area of finance. We're very pleased with the rating, and it does show that the district is making great strides making the most of our taxpayers' dollars. It also shows that the schools are held accountable not only for the learning but also for the management of the finances of the district. And of course, none of this would be possible without the support of the Board of Trustees, as well as our Superintendent, Dr. Gonzalez, and Ms. Richards, our Chief Financial Officer, and her team. And for that, I'd like to introduce the fantastic staff that is responsible for preparing the first rating, and really to them goes all of the kudos, because it's a very dedicated team of people. First of all, we have several items that we want to cover with this public hearing. We want to provide the public with the objectives and the goals of the first rating, how that is assessed, as well as how the determination of the rating, and then what those indicators are. The objectives, of course, for the rating is to provide a system that's fairly and equitably evaluates the quality of the decisions from management. It is a tool that the state utilizes to assess the financial management of public school districts in the state of Texas. It looks at the quality of that management, and the report is made public for accountability purposes. The sources of information utilized for the first rating is the comprehensive annual financial report, and in addition to that, it uses data from our PEAM system that is reported to the state. The goals of first is to strengthen accountability, first and foremost, and then also to improve the performance in the management of district finances, and of course to facilitate effective and efficient use of our resources. The rating is based off of 15 indicators, and within those 15 indicators, there's 5 that are critical. And if a district were to fail any of these indicators, then they would receive a substandard rating. The first one requires that they submit their annual report within 1 month after the November 27th deadline with TEA, because of course this is also the basis of the information used for the TEA uses for the rating. They must have received an unmodified opinion or not received an unmodified opinion or any material weaknesses in the audit. The district must have also made their debt payments on time, on a timely basis, as well as payroll-related payments, and not be deficient in their net position balance. So those are the 5 critical indicators. There's a score sheet, A through F rating. A for superior, you have to get a 90 or better, 90 to 100. The district did receive 100, a perfect score. There's also a B, which is above standard, C meets standard, and F is a substandard achievement. So those are the rating scale. And I'm going to cover the 15 indicators. The very first one, as I mentioned, was whether the district submitted the annual financial report, and of course McAllen ISD did submit it on a timely basis. Was there an unmodified opinion in the annual financial report, or was it free of any material instances of any material witnesses and internal controls? And in both cases, the answer was yes to all 3 of those questions. And then item number 3, this indicator, it seeks to make sure that the district has paid its obligations on time in regards to debt. And also in the 4th indicator seeks to make sure that the district has fulfilled its obligation to TRS, TWC, and IRS for the transfer of payroll withholdings and fulfill any other payroll-related obligations. And the district did meet both indicators. Number 7, was the measure of current assets to current liabilities ratio for the school district sufficient to cover short-term debt? And what that measures is, was there sufficient short-term assets at the end of the fiscal year to pay off its short-term liabilities? And for McAllen ISD, the answer to that was yes. Number 8 indicates that McAllen ISD's long-term liabilities to total asset ratio, in our case, was sufficient to support the long-term solvency of the district, and we did pass. I'm sorry, I skipped that. That was for number 7 and number 8. Number 7 and number 8. Number 9, did the district's general fund revenues equal or exceed the expenditures? Number 9 indicator reference, did the district spend more than they earned? And McAllen ISD expenditures did not exceed the general fund revenues. Number 10, this indicator asks about the district's ability to make their debt principal debt service payments, and the district did meet that. The debt service coverage ratio was 1.633 and it exceeded the benchmark of 1.20. Okay, the next one is number 11. The district's administrative cost ratio, they provide a benchmark. The district's cost ratio was 5.97, which is less than the threshold of 8.55. So we did meet that indicator as well. Number 12, that one has to do with student to staff enrollment ratio. And if there was a decline in enrollment, then the student to staff ratio should not decrease greater than 15%. And the district's student to staff ratio decreased 3.89, which was less than the 15% threshold. So we did meet that indicator as well. Number 13, that one has to do with the accuracy of the data that's submitted to the PEAM system to TEA, and the district had zero variance in the data, so we passed that indicator. Did the external independent auditor indicate that the annual financial report was free of any instances of material noncompliance? And there were no material noncompliances reported on our school district annual financial report. The last indicator is, did the district have to have an adjusted repayment schedule? And no, the district did not. And here's the reference to the first rating in the Texas Administrative Code, and that concludes the presentation. And I now turn it over to our president in case anybody has any questions or anybody in the public may have questions.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. At this time, board members, do any of you have a question about our report for Ms. Garcia?
No, sir.
Mr. Suarez?
Mine's more a comment. I just want to congratulate you and your team and the entire team. And I guess this is a loaded question, but obviously, you know, being on top is a good thing. Staying on top is a little bit harder and more challenging. And my question is there anything that we as a board can do so that we continue to have this rating? Is there any additional support that you may need?
Nothing that y'all aren't doing already. We're appreciative of the support. It's just keeping a very diligent eye on the finances, and we have a very strong team that carries that out. And certainly, as the months progress, you know, we keep the board abreast of all of that information. So that support team is really the key to the success.
Any further questions?
Just thank you very much. It's outstanding.
Absolutely.
If I may, Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I did want to take this opportunity to thank each of our board members up here for everything you do for our school district. I know that y'all put in a lot of hours, so y'all's leadership plays a key role in helping this district move forward. In the area of finances, it's a difficult task to deal with such a large budget with so many moving parts, but you all play a tremendous role in giving us feedback. Lorena, to you and Cindy and the entire team, thank you all very, very much for staying on top of it always, because as Trustee Suarez pointed out, it's very difficult to stay at the top, and we've received perfect scores, and that's just to receive a perfect score is awesome. In the same year that we earned the Post-Secondary Readiness Award. So on the curriculum side, on the finance side, performing at such a high level, hats off to the entire team, and especially our board for all of your guidance and for everything that you do for us.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. We'll now ask the members of our audience if you have a question or comment for Ms. Garcia in regards to the school finance report, the first report that was presented to you today. That will require you to stand up and come up to the microphone. Not trying to scare you, just letting you know how it's going to work. No questions or comments? With none being said, thank you again, Ms. Garcia. Congratulations. Trustee Suarez.
Tony, just want to clarify, is the team here? The entire team here?
Well, that's kind of why we brought the picture, because we didn't know if they could all make it, so I can flash the picture again.
Is there, my question is there members of the team here?
We do.
Ms. Richards, Cynthia Richards is here.
Can you please rise?
Chief Financial Officer.
There we go. And
There they are.
yes,
There you go. There's
they
the
are.
winning team right there.
Big Chief.
Yes, and it's comprised of, in addition to Ms. Richards, it's also Iris Luna. She's our director for accounting. Ashley Jaime as our director for payroll. And then we also have Dianira Diaz, who is our coordinator for accounting, Grace Suarez, staff accountant, Janie Brooks, and Rosie Diaz, Rosie Diaz, our budget specialist. And then we have Mr. Lázaro Ramos, which is our payroll coordinator.
Congratulations to you all one more time. Moving on to our next item, item 7A. This will require a board motion, a vote to approve.
So moved.
Could I amend the motion to include 7A through G?
Motion to approve 7A through G. Trustee Suarez, do you have a?
Stated.
So moved. That's fine. I accept the amendment.
Okay. We have a motion from the combination of Trustee Suarez and Trustee Aliceda to approve items 7A through 7G. A second by Trustee Alvarado. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 6-0. So, item 7A, a proclamation regarding Down Syndrome Awareness Month. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. During Down Syndrome Awareness Month, we take the time to recognize individuals with Down syndrome. It is an opportunity to spread awareness, advocacy, and inclusion throughout our community. Dr. Ibarra will introduce the special education staff and our wonderful students. Board Secretary Debbie Alizeda will read the proclamation. So, Dr. Ibarra.
Yes, thank you. We'll go ahead and start with our students. From McAllen Elementary, Bella Rodriguez. From Perez Elementary, Miguel Ángel Rodriguez. Representing Castañeda Elementary, Vanessa Rodriguez. Representing Memorial High School, Thomas Livigny. From Seguin Elementary, Miranda Tapia. Also joining us today from our Special Education Department, Ms. Esther Urbina, Special Education Teacher at Seguin Elementary. Ms. Kimberly Pequeño, Special Ed Teacher at Castañeda Elementary.
Hi, Tommy. How are you, sir?
Isamar Quintanilla from Perez Elementary. And Jennifer Mott, Teacher at McAuliffe Elementary. Ms. Rosie Larson, Director of Special Education, and Ms. Carla Burnett, Coordinator for Special Education, are also with us tonight.
Whereas approximately 1 in every 800 children are born with Down syndrome, representing approximately 5,000 births per year in the United States. And whereas while research and early intervention have resulted in dramatic improvements in the lifespan and the potential of those who are affected, more investigation is needed in the causes and treatment of Down syndrome. And whereas people with Down syndrome possess a wide range of abilities and are active participants in educational, occupational, social, and recreational circles of the community. And whereas McAllen ISD has supported families who have children with disabilities and special health care needs in McAllen and desires to increase the support network and support groups of those with Down syndrome across our state. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Crane-Aliceda, Secretary, Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017 as Down Syndrome Awareness Month. I call upon all residents and public schools to join in celebration of the many achievements of people with disabilities and their continual contribution to our community and schools. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 9th day of October 2017.
here, ready? 1, 2.
If the parents could stand up and
Yes.
be recognized, please.
Parents, please.
Feel free to take photos if you have them, mom and dad.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
One photo. One more. Thank you all for being here. Guys. Appreciate it all.
And I was like up to here when I was.
Item 7B is the approval of the proclamation regarding Persons with Disabilities History and Awareness Month. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. October is designated as Persons with Disabilities History and Awareness Month. We affirm the fundamental principle that individuals with disabilities are entitled to the same rights and freedoms as everyone else, to belong and fully participate in society, to live with respect and free from discrimination, and to live as valued members in our community. Dr. Ibarra will introduce staff from the Special Education Department, and Trustee Ito Alvarado will read the proclamation. Dr. Ibarra?
Yes, thank you. We'll go ahead and start by recognizing our students. Gemma Galvan from Seguin Elementary. Betsabeth Huitron from McAuliffe Elementary. Belen Ceres from Perez Elementary. Jay Gully from McAllen High School. Elias Quiroz, also from McAllen High School. Julian Gonzalez from Castañeda Elementary. And from the Special Education Department, Kimberly Pequeño from Castañeda Elementary. Isamar Quintanilla, teacher from Perez Elementary. Jennifer Mott, teacher at McAuliffe Elementary. And of course, our director for special ed, Rosie Larson, and Ms. Carla Barnett, coordinator for special ed.
I get the pleasure of reading the proclamation. State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, McAllen Independent School District. Whereas Texas has a long, rich history regarding Texans with disabilities. Given that many contributions that Texans with disabilities have made to our state, their legacy is reflected in the names of 8 Texas counties. And their achievements remind us of all the productive roles that people with disabilities have played and will continue to play in our state. And whereas throughout our state's history, Texans with disabilities have played an important role in making Texas the greatest state in our nation to live, work, and raise a family, demonstrating the remarkable qualities of the Texas spirit, courage, independence, and ingenuity. I mispronounced that. They have filled some of the highest offices, fought in historical battles, and contributed to the art and culture of our state. Whereas public schools play a key role by providing instruction and disability history and the subjects regarding people with disabilities and disabilities right movements. Also, post-secondary educational institutions, state agencies, and community organizations can and should help to promote awareness and understanding about the issues affecting Texans with disabilities. And whereas during the 82nd legislative session in 2011, House Bill 3616 was passed, designating October as Persons with Disabilities History and Awareness Month. I encourage all Texans to observe this month by celebrating and promoting the accomplishments of Texans with disabilities and the historic role that Texas has played in supporting our disability residents. And now, therefore, I, Conrado Alvarado, member Board of Trustees, McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017 as Persons with Disabilities History and Awareness Month. I call upon all residents and public schools to join in celebration of the many achievements of people with disabilities and their continuing contributions to our communities and schools. A witness, therefore, I set my hand, calls the seal of McAllen Independent School District, and I signed it on October 19, 2017, and tested by Debbie Crane, Secretary of Board. So big round of applause for the month of October for Persons with Disability History and Awareness Month.
Folks, if you like to.
Jake, can you get us all, or do we need?
Yeah, I'm gonna get on a chair.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna get a little technical here. Doc, if I could have you scoot in right here on the side. Actually, I can just do it from here, get everything. Ready? 1, 2, and one more. Perfect, thank you.
Mom and Dad?
Parents, please, would you like to take some pictures?
We graduated the same year. No, I graduated a year.
You're older.
Yes, thanks.
Good job, you said keep it in place.
That's right.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you, guys. Next up is item 7C, the proclamation regarding Principals Month, October 2017. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Governor Greg Abbott signed a proclamation on September 12, 2017 to proclaim October as Principals Month. This evening, Ms. Bridget V. will introduce the principals present, and Secretary Debbie Alizedo will read the proclamation. Before we'll let our guests step out, let our wonderful students, staff, and parents step out.
Ooh, your shoes light up.
Before we introduce our principals, I do want to take this opportunity to thank our instructional leaders and once again thank our board for all the support you give our instructional leaders. The strength of our district comes through our principals and our wonderful teachers. So on behalf of the district and our board principals, we're very proud of you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. V so she can call in our principals and we can recognize them.
And yes, tonight with us is principal from Francisca Alvarez Elementary, Mr. Juan Montes. James Bonham Elementary, Ms. Clarissa Partida, principal. Ms. Jessica Rodriguez, principal for Dr. Carlos Castañeda Elementary. Mr. Carlos Mora, Principal for Escandon Elementary. Mrs. Rosie Solis Guerra, Principal for Victor Fields Elementary. Mrs. Nancy Valenzuela, Principal for Reynaldo G. Garza Elementary. Mrs. Cristina Hernandez, Principal for Gonzales Elementary. Miss Deborah Loya Thomas, Principal for Sam Houston Elementary. Mr. Pedro Garcia, Principal for Andrew Jackson Elementary. Mrs. Sandra Pitchford, Principal for Krista McCullough. Dr. McCullough. Dr. Sandy Pitchford. Mrs. Christian Quintanilla, Principal for Ben Milam Elementary. Mrs. Leticia Infante, Principal for Jose Antonio Navarro Elementary. Mr. Albert G. Idlas, Principal for Dr. Pablo Perez Elementary. Mrs. Nancy Dillard, Principal for Sam Rayburn Elementary. Mr. Gerardo Gonzalez, Principal for Theodore Roosevelt Elementary. Mrs. Cynthia Rodriguez, Principal for Blanca E. Sanchez Elementary. Mr. Juan Navares, Principal for Juan Seguin Elementary. Woodrow Wilson Elementary Principal, Ms. Christine Garza.
Should we do a photo with just elementary first? These are all elementary principals. I think we should just do elementary first. All right. Yeah. All right, come on down, elementary principals. These things up, come on down here, we're gonna go up to the top. You get the first one. What are you talking about?
I've gained weight since I restarted.
We need scaffolding for that?
To rearrange the stage.
Okay, yes. Can I just over a little bit? Right there.
If you're vertically inclined, please, to the front.
We still have there. Okay, do you see everybody? I see Nancy.
smile, big smile. All right.
Do you see everybody?
Yes. All right,
Wait,
ready?
you don't see.
Yes, she's ready to go.
I didn't get
Oh.
over that one there.
All right. Stay right there, up top. Ready? 1, 2. And one more. 1, 2. Thank you. Yeah, but let's bring out the middle school and then the high school.
Where did it think?
All right. And we're just slide them up here? Yeah. All right.
You want to try?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah.
So continuing with the middle school principals, please welcome Mr. Alfredo Gutierrez, Jr., Principal of Doroteo Brown Middle School. Principal of Dr. Rodney D. Cathy Middle School, Mr. Melvin Benford. Please welcome Mrs. Laura M. Williams, Principal of Michael E. Fossum Middle School. My pleasure to welcome Maribel Elizondo, Principal of Abraham Lincoln Middle School. Principal for Homer J. Morris Middle School, Mr. Brian McClinney. Principal for William B. Travis Middle School, Mr. Efrain Amaya. Next, we will present our high school principals. With us tonight, Memorial High School Principal, Mr. Pedro Alvarez, Jr. Principal for Lamar Academy, Mrs. Cindy Peña. Principal for Instruction and Guidance Center, Mr. Fernando Gutierrez. Our Mac High principal and road principal are at another function that they had to be at tonight.
Okay.
The Mac coach preparing for Memorial.
I think we need to do that angle thing. The shoulders. Yeah. Y'all want to step down?
So while you're doing that, I'll read proclamation. Proclamation. Whereas principals and school leaders are entrusted with our most valuable resource, our next generation of leaders and contributors. These students are our promise for the future, and it is critical that they receive a rigorous and well-rounded education. Whereas principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teachers to maintain high curriculum standards, develop mission statements, and set performance objectives. Whereas the National Association of Elementary School Principals and the National Association of Secondary School Principals, joined by their state affiliates, have designated the month of October as a time to recognize the contributions of elementary, middle, and high school principals. Whereas we encourage all Texans to recognize the important role principals play in ensuring that every child has access to high-quality education. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Crane-Aliceta, Secretary Board of the Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the month of October as National Principals Month. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 9th day of October 2017. Congratulations.
This is about to be the most expensive picture.
Mr. Garza, right in the middle. Right, Mr. Garcia, right?
Don't drop it.
No, it's all right. We're
It's their moment in the sun. All right. 3, 2, 3, 2, and one more. Great. 1, 2. Thank you. You too.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all, man.
Do I introduce you for both the bullying and the, or just the human resources?
Next up, we have item 7D, approval of the proclamation regarding Bullying Prevention Month. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The McAllen Independent School District of Trustees proclaims the month of October as Bullying Prevention Month. Mr. Miller will introduce Student Support Service staff, but before that, Trustee Sam Saliva Jr. will read the proclamation. Do you want to do it in reverse order? We'll go ahead and introduce our staff and then do the proclamation, yes. So with that, I will now turn it over to Mr. Todd Miller.
Okay, folks, we have Mr. John Wilde, the Director of Student Support Services. Mr. Jesus Martinez, Intake Officer. Mr. Jose Soto, Intake Officer. And Mr. Richard Tamez, Specialist Support Services. Absent tonight is Delia Rodriguez. Brittany Salinas and Audrey Lease was not available tonight. That's all.
All right. Sam? Oh, it's everybody. Bill, step forward. Yes, sir.
McAllen Independent School District Proclamation, State of Texas, County of Hidalgo. Whereas, we must safeguard schools and communities for our students, and through our recognition of the serious issues that face them each day, offer our children an environment that holds promise and security. And whereas students refuse to go to school because of the physical and verbal aggression of their peers and the loneliness that comes from being excluded and made the target of rumors and cyberbullying, many more students attend school in a chronic state of apprehension. And whereas it is important that we acknowledge and heighten awareness about the serious issues and the negative effects of bullying, including the long-term damage it can cause in our students.
And whereas providing a safe physical and emotional environment is a significant goal and a personal responsibility of each individual. And whereas that McAllen ISD schools and students be encouraged to engage in a variety of awareness and prevention activities as a symbol of our commitment to deter bullying. And now, therefore, I, Sam Saldiva Jr., member of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017 as Bullying Prevention Month. In witness thereof, we hereunto set our hand and seal McAllen Independent School District be affixed the 9th day of October 2017. It's signed by myself and our Board Secretary, Mrs. Debbie Crane Alicea. A few words. I'd like to thank the students that each and every day come to school and are reaching out to others that may be of a diverse relationship or a different way of life, and include them whenever you do. We also like to thank the students that when they see bullying, that they step up and stop it, either by saying to those individuals being bullied that you're there for them, and then reporting promptly to an adult, a teacher or an administrator, that you've witnessed that. In hopes that maybe by having a conversation with the individual that may be the agitator of that bullying will have a better understanding of what it is to feel being excluded or feel that aggression or feel that verbal abuse. And maybe then will then treat them, others, including that individual, in a respectful way. And to the teachers that do stand up and the administrators to assist our students each and every day to navigate through all the challenges that they face. Thank you for stepping up and helping all these children find a better understanding of each other and the importance of being respectful and serve each other with dignity and understanding. Thank you.
Actually, if I could have you, yes. Right there. That was perfect. Dr. Gonzalez, step in just one second. All right, ready? 1, 2. And 1, 2. Beautiful.
Next item on the agenda is item 7E, the proclamation regarding Texas Education Human Resources Day. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The governor of Texas has proclaimed October 10th, 2017 to be Texas Education Human Resources Day. Mr. Miller will read and introduce human resource staff. Then our president, President Tony Forina, will read the proclamation. I will now pass the mic over to Mr. Miller.
Hey, good evening. I have Mr. John Cavazos, our Human Resource Director. Mr. Stan Crounce, our other HR Director. Ms. Erica Guerrero, Secretary to Assistant Superintendent and Directors. Ms. Sandra Gomez, Compensation Analyst. Rosie Gonzalez, Position Control Specialist. Ms. Belinda Zavala, Position Control Specialist. Mr. Aldo Martinez, Certification Specialist. Ms. Maggie Cantu, Classified Personnel Specialist. And Ms. Sandra Ortega, Human Resources Clerk.
And leading the team, Mr. Todd Miller, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our proclamation reads from the state of Texas, County of Hidalgo, McAllen Independent School District. Whereas the Human Resource Division is instrumental in recruiting, selecting, resourcing, and retaining quality staff in support of providing an excellent education for all students. And whereas Human Resources plays a key role in fostering satisfaction and loyalty among employees by allowing for professional growth and development and keeping employees informed about policies, working conditions, compensation, and benefits. And whereas Human Resources monitors and manages current and future workforce trends, organizational chart, legal and legislative trends, and ethical and social responsibility. And whereas Human Resources is an important part of the district leadership and is vital to the overall productivity and efficiency of the district's workforce. And whereas Human Resources is a valued and respected department that sustains the district's most important asset, its people. Now, therefore, I, Tony Forina, President, Board of the Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim that October the 10th, 2017 is Texas Education Human Resources Day. The board also encourages students, staff, and parents to express their appreciation to our Human Resources team for their dedication and commitment to McAllen ISD employees and students. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 9th day of October 2017, attested to by Board Secretary Debbie Crane Alicera. So happy Human Resources Day tomorrow. Everybody come down one spot. And who gets to hold this? So we'll let y'all. Donuts on Mr. Miller tomorrow. Text in the Shipley Plant and Shoot Marco's Burger. Free for lunch. All right, 3, 2, and 3, 2.
We're good, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. It'll do. Next, we have item 7F, the proclamation for National School Lunch Week. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. National School Lunch Week is celebrated in October and emphasizes the importance of our students' well-being through balanced meals and healthy eating habits. With us this evening are staff from our Child Nutrition Department. Trustee Sam Saldiva Jr. will read the proclamation, but before that, we will have Dr. Barrera introduce our staff.
And good evening, everyone, and it's with great pleasure that I introduce our first team member here is Myra Lopez. Next, we have Miss Sally Mesa. We have Miss Marta Serrata. And we have Miss Aida Alfaro. We have Miss Alicia Vergil. And we have Miss Angelita Guerrero. Thank you.
McAllen Independent School District Proclamation, State of Texas, County of Hidalgo. Whereas a national school lunch program has served our nation admirably for more than 70 years through advanced practices in nutrition education. No child should have to learn on an empty stomach. This groundbreaking program has prevented hunger and promoted education by enabling our young people to have access to safe, balanced, and affordable meals at school. It has also supported their development, encouraged their learning capacity, and instilled lifelong learning health habits. This year, during National School Lunch Week, we recognize the vital importance of this historic program, and we recommit to serving meals that will contribute to the health and well-being of new generations. Whereas with more than 21,000 children participating in the National School Lunch Program daily, more than 19,000 in the school breakfast program, good nutrition at school is more vital than ever in order to foster school environments that encourage physical activity and nutritional diets. Whereas to provide more fruits, vegetables, and other fresh and nutritious food for school meals, McAllen ISD participates in the USDA Farm to School program that enables us to partner, bless you, with local farmers to provide quality foods in school menus, to increase markets for local farmers, and to teach young people of all ages about the source of food they enjoy. Whereas this week provides us with the opportunity to reflect on the critical role of the National School Lunch Program plays in promoting the health and well-being of tomorrow's leaders, we also recognize the talent and dedication of all the food service professionals, educators, program administrators, and parents whose time and energy help ensure that our students have the healthy food necessary to grow and succeed. Now, therefore, I, Sam Saldívar Jr., member of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the week of October 9th to the 13th, 2017, as National School Lunch Week. I call upon all residents to join the dedicated individuals here today and others that work in our various kitchens who administer the National School Lunch Program in appropriate activities that support the health and well-being of our children, and to become aware of their own nutritional habits in hopes of achieving a more healthy citizenry for today and in the future. In witness thereof, I hereby set our hand and seal McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 9th day of October 2017, and it's been witnessed by our Board Secretary, Mrs. Debbie Crane Aliceda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh, we have one.
Item 7G is the proclamation of the National School Bus Safety Week. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. A proclamation recognizing October 16th to 20th, 2017 as Bus Safety Week. This proclamation recognizes the hard work and dedication of school transportation personnel. Dr. Barrera, Director Jacob Martinez, and transportation staff are here this evening. Vice President Larry Esparza will read the proclamation for us, but before that, we'll have Dr. Barrera introduce our staff.
Yes, sir, and good evening, everyone. And we have our Transportation Director, Mr. Jacob Martinez. He's here with us. Next, we have Mr. Stanley Smith. He's our Assistant Director. We have Mr. Kane Reyna is also with us this evening. And some of our staff is here as well. We have Miss Liz Garza is here this evening. And Miss Edrina Gonzalez is also with us. Congratulations. Yeah. We take a picture.
Oh, we're taking a picture?
No.
Thank you all for being here. I have a proclamation on behalf of McAllen ISD. Proclamation reads as follows. State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, McAllen Independent School District. Whereas approximately 480,000 yellow school buses carry approximately 25 million children to and from school every weekday. These buses comprise the largest mass transportation fleet in the country. And whereas school buses meet higher construction, equipment, and inspection standards than any other vehicle, making them 8 times safer than traveling in a passenger vehicle, and school bus drivers meet higher qualification, training, and testing standards than any other drivers. And whereas School Bus Safety Week, which is sponsored by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, was created in 1966 to remind all students of the best ways to get ways to get on and off the bus, and also recognizes the hard work and dedication of school transportation personnel. And whereas McAllen ISD bus drivers logged approximately 950,000 miles last year, enough to circle the earth more than 35 times. Well, that's a lot of driving. Now, therefore, I, Larry Esparza, Vice President of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the week of October 16th through 20th, 2017 as National School Bus Safety Week. I call upon all residents to join the dedicated individuals who administer the National School Bus Program in appropriate activities that support the safe transportation and well-being of our children. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 9th day of October 2017, and it's signed by myself, Larry Esparza, Vice President of the Board of Trustees, and attested to by Debbie Crane Aleceda, Secretary of the Board of Trustees. Thank you all. Thank you for providing transportation for all of our children, our most precious asset in this district. You know, you take them to school in the mornings, you're up early, your drivers are up early, and I think Jacob can attest to the record of our drivers, the zero number of accidents, the training that they go through and so forth. So again, thank you for everything you do for our district and for our children.
Ready? 3, 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
I turned it a little. It's doing that. Like a rotisserie chicken.
Once again, for all those that receive recognition and proclamations, congratulations. Moving on to our next group of reports, the board members, board committee, and district reports. Item 8A1, Instructional Services Briefing. The chair is Trustee Conrad Alvarado. Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, we had a meeting with Dr. Ibarra. Ms. Crane met with her individually. We do have a couple items on here. I, of course, misplaced my notes, but Dr. Ibarra, is there anyone that we want to highlight?
We have a couple of MOUs that we'll be asking for approval, but really a report regarding parent and family engagement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Alvarado and Dr. Ibarra. Item 8A2, the Business Operations Briefing. The chair is Trustee Vice President Larry Esparza.
Thank you, Mr. President. I met with Lorena Garcia earlier today, and we had a discussion of several of the items on the agenda. One of them included the what we started at the early part of the meeting with the school financial integrity rating system. We also discussed some our investments for the district, which to me is great news, and I hope she elaborates further on that. Also on the agenda tonight is the report regarding taxes collected for the month of August, approval of McAllen Independent School District budget amendment, renewal request for proposals for restaurant food service, fundraising, rentals and catering, field trips and related products and services. And also on the agenda tonight is the discussion of the McAllen Memorial Veterans Memorial Stadium field naming, sponsorship, and advertising. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Esparza. Item 8A3, the district operations briefing. Our chair is Trustee Marcos Suarez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Met with Dr. Barrera. Larry and I both called in, talked to him, talked about several issues. One of the items that is on there, the first item is the transportation department. It involves the hazardous routes, final payments on a couple of paving projects, and 2 other routine supply item issues that are on there.
Thank you, Trustee Suarez. Item 8A4, the human resources briefing. For that, we can turn to Trustee Eliseda.
Yes, Trustee Suarez and I met with Mr. Miller, and as usual, our 30-minute meetings turn into 2-hour meetings. So thank you very much, but I'll elaborate more when we get to them on the agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to item 8B1, the report regarding family and parent engagement program and services. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. McAllen ISD continues to support our schools and communities to strategically and collaboratively embrace families as key partners in the education of children. And we continue to ensure that every family is equipped with the tools that they need to navigate and support their child through educational systems. Therefore, the parental involvement program is a vital part of creating relationships between home, school, and community. Dr. Ibarra has a presentation with more information. Dr. Ibarra.
Thank you. Yes, this evening I bring before you a report regarding parent and family engagement programs and services that we offer to our parents throughout the district. The district strives to provide opportunities for parents to be involved in their children's education because research shows that students with involved parents are more likely to earn higher grades, pass their classes, attend school regularly, have better social skills, and go on to post-secondary education. I'd first like to begin with the McAllen High School Parent Student Evening Study Center. This program runs from September through May, from 6 to 8 p.m. And through this program, we offer ESL and GED classes to our parents. What's really neat about this program is that while parents are taking their classes, childcare is provided to our preschoolers, and we also offer homework and tutoring assistance to students in grades kinder through 8th. The Parent Student Evening Study Center has played a critical role in building relationships with families, supporting family well-being, and nurturing ongoing learning and development for both parents and children. Currently, the center has enrolled a total of 388 participants, but we are still enrolling students. Another program is the Burlington English Classes from Parents, and this is also an ESL program. However, this program is offered during the day. We currently have it at 19 campuses, and we have great participation in this program as well. Another program that we partner with is the Region 1 partnership program, and this program also offers parents opportunities to learn either ESL or earn their GED. However, this year we're very excited that we're offering 3 new programs, and those are the entrepreneurship and technology, the Microsoft Office, and the ESL for professionals, which is the TOEFL. This prepares parents who have degrees from other countries who want to come and challenge the test here in the United States. So this test specifically prepares them for that. Parents had been asking for this program, and so we're very excited that we're offering parents more opportunities for various programs. Moving on, we're also very excited that this year we're partnering with South Texas Community College. Through the College Continuing Adult Education Program, they are offering, expanding their program and offering parent opportunities, which enable parents to earn licenses and certifications that may lead to wage hourly employment. And so this year, we're very excited, again, for the first time, they will be offering the following classes. At McAllen High School, we'll be offering phlebotomy. At Crockett Annex, Microsoft Office Specialist, and the STC campus at Military will be offering forklift technology. On October 11th and 18th, we'll have orientation for parents, and the classes will begin at the end of the month. So again, this is a new program. We're very excited, and we hope to bring you an update in the very near future. Another program that we are partnering with is the Texas Communities Foundation Partnership. And so we know that parents play a vital role in supporting their children as they graduate from high school, and they assist them in the transition to college. So one of the things that we're wanting to do is to offer more support and more parent informational sessions to our parents. We currently have scheduled 2 parent sessions, October 24th and November 7th at McAllen High School. And again, these courses, these classes are for parents to provide them with the skills, with the knowledge that they need to understand college readiness. What is college readiness? What does my child need to be prepared to go on to college? And what are some of the strategies that we can provide as parents to support our students as they transition from high school to college? So we're excited again. This is a new program that we're implementing this school year. Another very, very exciting program that we're very eager to share, we're going to share a video shortly with you, is the Read 3 program, and this is in partnership with HEB. And through this program, HEB realizes that many children, 25% of children actually read at home in the evening hours with their parents, only 25% of children. So that means that 75% of children are not reading at home. And we know that it's vital, that literacy at school, but also at home, is vital to student success. And so through the Read 3 program, we are implementing a partnership with HEBs to where HEB is coming into our schools. They're providing a curriculum. Our students, 15 students in pre-K, are being pulled out to receive instruction in literacy, while 15 parents, the parents of these 15 children, are being pulled out as well, and HEB is coming in and supporting us, not only with literacy lessons on lessons how to support your child at home, but also on healthy eating habits. And one of the most exciting things is that parents are able to take books home. At the end of every session, they're able to take 2 books home, so it's a 6-week period. It's a 6 weeks program, and at the end of 6 weeks, they'll have 12 books to add to their home library. And we know that many parents don't have home libraries, so we're trying to build those libraries at home, so to encourage parents to read to their children at home. And they're also getting to take groceries home, backpacks, just different things that the HEB is donating that will benefit the family at home. Another program that we're also very excited about is the Ready Rosie program, and this program was purchased with the pre-K grant money that we had last year, and so we continue to implement it this year. And so this program is a parenting curriculum that helps parents find learning moments in everyday activities and situations. And this resource harnesses the power of video and mobile technology to empower families and schools to work together to promote school readiness. Campuses hold family workshops and provide parents with powerful skills that enhance instruction at home. Currently, we're implementing this program at the pre-K level. However, we are going to expand it to K through 3rd grade. And then something that we're very excited about is that we're reaching out to developing partnerships with our daycare providers. We know that it's very difficult for students to transition from daycare to the public school, and so through these partnerships, we're hoping to set that foundation to have a smooth transition for our parents and for our students to transfer into our schools next year. It also gives us the opportunity to network with the daycares, and so we're going to have our first meeting on October the 18th at McAuliffe Elementary. However, more meetings will be held at the other campuses in the near future. And at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Anjanette Garza, our Director for State and Federal Programs, who oversees the Parental Involvement Program, to please come to the podium. And I also would like to invite Mr. Juan Lira. He's our lead pre-K strategist, and he can answer questions about the pre-K initiatives that we're currently hosting in our district. And at this time, I'd like to open it up for questions.
Okay, Board, any questions?
I have a question.
Trustee Esparza.
Not so much about the pre-K program, but all of these programs, is there any cost to any of the parents on any of the programs?
No, sir.
It's all absolutely free.
It's all absolutely free. The only program that might incur a cost is the STC License and Certificate Program. We're working very closely with the university. They will support the parents in getting and walking them through the application process and through the financial aid process. So again, that's just an extension of what we would do for our students, kind of like dual enrollment. This is the same thing, but the parents have to qualify. There is a criteria for this particular program. This is a South Texas Community College partnership.
And these programs are spread out to campuses across the district, right? I mean,
Yes, sir. Yes,
north
sir.
side, east side, west side of town.
All the opportunities are provided to all the parents in the district. The parental involvement specialists provide the information through flyers, through meetings that they have at the campuses, so all parents are made aware. Of course, some parents, that's why we have programs in the evening, in the morning, and in the evening, because again, we work with the parent schedules.
Now, I noticed you mentioned at the beginning 300 and something participating. Some of these programs are just getting off the ground, correct?
Most of them start around November. Okay. Yes, that's correct.
So at some
I'm sorry,
point later
October.
on, will you come back and give us an
Absolutely.
update as the numbers, the number of people that we're servicing through it, so we'll just have an idea?
Yes,
how
and
effective
actually, we have a short video that we wanted to show you, just to capture a couple of programs that we want to highlight tonight.
Dad looks at all the good food. The goal is to help the parents with the resources that they need to help prepare their children for pre-K, kinder, and beyond for success in school. So we encourage the parents to read 3 times to their children, and because we encourage them, we also provide books at each session. They will walk away with 2 books at each session. So at the end of this 6 sessions, they will have 12 books, and they'll have the resources that they need to help support their children prepare for school.
Este programa está muy bien porque me ayuda a mí en el aprendizaje con mi niña y ayuda a los demás padres igual.
We're also learning how our kids can become better each and every day by eating healthy, reading, getting to school on time. We're very grateful for HEB, the school, the community, everybody coming together. All I gotta say is I'm very anxious and I'm ready to get back next week and learn more and more each and every day.
Play, 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 play. I am playing. Playing is in what? Remember, the verb is an ing, so the verb or the action is happening.
We are currently here because we want to improve our English. We are coming from Venezuela, and we need that for our kids and for get better opportunities.
This is my friend Villa.
I have met very kind people around the program, encouraging us to make this, and this is great. This has been special.
Herman, he's only 2 weeks in the United States, and for me, he has a very good English for the time he's living here so far.
So again, just a couple of examples of 2 of the programs that we're implementing, the HEB3 and then the McAllen High School Evening Study Center.
Thank you, Dr. Ibarra. I believe Trustee Suarez has a question.
Well, first, I'll start by saying, wow. I mean, that's incredible. I think this is something that we should brag more about. I think their testimony shows, if it impacted me, I'm sure it would impact a lot more, many more people. But I want to get this straight. On for that particular slide, we get federal money to be able to give these parents a certification?
What has happened is Region 1 has gone out and retrieved funding through the U.S. Department of Ed. So in partnership with South Texas Community College, they have come in, and we just came in we're at the right place at the right time. So we really took advantage of this and pretty much opened McAllen ISD doors to such career pathways.
So, again, parents can take these courses and get certification for free?
Yes, sir.
Now, is there an eligibility for a parent?
There is eligibility, of course. They have to speak the English language very fluently. So what we're doing is we are contacting the individuals that have currently completed level 4 of our McAllen Evening Study Center. And also we do assess parents in regards to English fluency. So that's really the first step, is making sure they're fluent.
So it's kind of like a pathway. So you
Yes.
start off learning your English language, and once you do that, you get rewarded by being able to
Correct.
take certain classes to get certified.
Right.
Wow.
And really, Evening Study Center is the foundation to opening the doors to such pathways such as these. So they learn the English language, they go through pre-lit, level 1, level 2, 3, 4, and they can have the opportunity that they finish level 4, they on go and they pursue GED completion. And they take the exam. After that, they're open to Microsoft Office computer skills, various things. So there's a tier. There's a tier for these parents.
So I'm going to throw a curveball out there. Norma in the room? Okay. I think once this takes off, I think this is certainly a good marketing tool on why you should have your kid at MISD. Because it's not just about the kid, but it's about the parent, and that's really impressive. I want to commend you and the entire staff for going through with this, and I hope it moves to where we can give 10 or 15 certifications of different, traits that we not only can we get them to speak English and get them, but then the third step would be to get them into the job, into the workforce, and that's impressive.
And that's the goal. We want to expand the program. We're starting with these 3, and hopefully we're going to be adding more programs or more license certificates.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, Dr.
The
Gonzalez.
conversation started as we started to talk about strategic advisement for students, whether they wanted to get a high school diploma and get into the workforce or join the military or get a license or a certificate of associates. And the team started to talk about what about strategic advisement for parents. So we started to tier our parents. If you don't have a GED, we have a system for you to get one. If you don't know English, we have a system for you to get one. And once you get both, then we have different pathways that you can go down. So we're looking at expanding this into welding, into cosmetology, into every facet of what our community needs so that we can make our parents employable. And not only that, but create a culture at home where parents are happy and they're studying and they're working towards something, and it just creates this whole movement in our community to get people educated and employable. So hats off to the team, but more than that, hats off to the board, because these conversations are really starting because of each and every one of you up here playing a key role in helping to shape our ideas. So it's a great, cool thing. We're excited.
Dr. Ibarra, I have a question in regards to the TOEFL class.
Yes, sir.
If you can pull that slide up. Just so that everybody in the room is clear, the ESL for Professional prep for the TOEFL test, what exactly is that?
Do you want to elaborate?
Sorry, Ms. Garza.
In the past, what we do is on an annual basis, we survey parents in August, September, when they're coming in for curriculum night, open house, such things at the beginning of the year. And one of the requests has been such as we have a lot of parents that have their degrees from Venezuela, from Mexico, from neighboring countries. So the request has been that they need preparation, they need assistance to take the TOEFL. And we contacted Region 1 and we kept on asking them, and because of this grant, they made it happen. So I know currently they have the list of parents that are interested, because we do have the list. Now they're trying to accommodate those parents, because again, a lot of them are working during the day.
Right.
So they're trying to figure out when is most flexible, or what days during the weeks and times they can make that available, that class available. So what they do, I think it's a 5-month program. They come in 4 to 5 hours during the week, and then they challenge the TOEFL, and they take the exam, and of course that's one step into the door so that they are able to get a job here in regards to what they studied.
In the profession.
And I'm assuming that this is much like our other programs where it's a tiered process, where
Yes.
they're starting the ESL first,
Yes, sir.
and then they would graduate to challenging the TOEFL.
Correct.
Excellent. Any further questions? Any comments?
Mr. President.
Trustee Saldívar.
Thank you. Quick, what does TOEFL stand for?
I
Sorry, sir.
should have.
It's it's a foreign language, English a foreign language.
We'll get back to you with the
Yes,
answer.
okay. We'll get the exact.
Trustee Saldívar.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Trustee Esparza. I got to commend the superintendent and staff, and more importantly, those individuals that worked tirelessly early on this year
on the strategic plan. But this is a perfect example where you take a framework of decision-making and you begin to create, within those various strategies, groups of individuals with expertise and challenges, and more importantly, opportunities, parents, faculty, staff, community leaders, business owners, et cetera, in identifying the needs. And it's about the total community, the needs of the child, supporting the teacher and the parent as part of a community at McAllen ISD. And I commend all of you, commend you, Mr. Garza, and everyone involved that is making that environment in which a child goes home and has that support system from their parents, but more importantly, that the community is supporting it. Because I recall being in an event and Mrs. Hesbrook from HEB approached me, and then the next day I had her call you, and you called, and here we are. And it's that collaboration and that connection and the building of relationships that will continue to provide this school district and this community with opportunities for everyone. And so I commend you for all that. Thank you very, very, very much. This is impressive.
Thank you.
And just real quick, Ms. Garza, I just want to echo, you taking it to a different level, because I know your department has done these type of services for many, many years. If there's a parent that can't speak English or needs help with whatever, going back to school, or even a service that they can't pay the rent, your team helps them. They become their advocate. They're which is important, like Dr. Gonzalez alluded to, with that family environment is in disarray. Disrupts the kids' learning. So your staff has done a tremendous job, but y'all taking it to another level. And I guess what we need to do too is just keep echoing or keep spotlighting all the stuff that your department does, because you play a key part. Sometimes it's in the shadows, but I know y'all done a tremendous job all these years.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And the answer to Mr. Esparza's test of English as a foreign language.
There you go.
There you go.
Now we learned something today.
Thank you.
I did have one quick question.
Trustee Eliseda.
Is it only for parents of students that are enrolled in our district, or is it for anybody in the city of McAllen?
All the programs are for our McAllen ISD students. Now, our
parents
that have students in McAllen ISD. I will make mention that we do have that partnership with Region 1, that Monday through Thursday we do open McAllen High School, and we provide ESL and GED classes, but not only for those parents, but we do invite the community, and we do have a waiting list of kids or adults that are 18 and or older that do participate in those, and they come from far and other neighboring cities.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
And if I could just piggyback off that, if a parent is watching and has questions, they can go to their school and ask for the parent. Is it still the parent involvement?
Parent and family engagement specialist.
Family engagement, and y'all can help them with those type of services. Okay, thank you.
And if you need somebody to answer your question, it's 956-632-3232. So just remember the 3-2 part. You'll be good to go.
And the announcer in 2014 it comes out. Good job.
And I just wanted to also recognize Ms. Lorena Saldua. She's not here with us today, but of course she leads all the parental involvement specialists. I want to thank also all the parental involvement specialists at the campuses, because it is their work at the campus level that makes all this happen. Obviously, Ms. Anjanette Garza is at the helm leading it, and also Mr. Lira. He's the one that's been training all the academic coaches to roll out the Ready Rosie and the HEB3. So it really truly is a team effort, and they're all doing a great job. So thank you all to the team.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Item 8B2, the report regarding the monthly financial and investment report for June 2017. Dr. Gonzalez. Yes, sir. Trustee Suarez.
Call for a reorg.
We have a reorg of the agenda.
Reorg and go to 10B, 1, 2, and 3.
Item 10B, 1, 2, and 3. Mr. Suarez would like to bring those forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Trustee Saldivar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it. 5-0 with one abstention. 501 is the vote.
Mr. President Podina, I just want to go on record that I'm going to be abstaining from the vote. I just want to clarify, I've been abstaining from all insurance matters, even though my present role, I'm our director for keep me to stay for United Healthcare, which is any contracts with the state. So I deal only with Medicaid programs. However, out of abundance of being very cautious, I always exclude myself on any matters related to insurance because we do have a commercial team, even though I don't work with them. And my company has asked me to stay away from any type of matters with this, even though I don't have any say. I don't even know what their plan is, but just to be out of cautious. So I just want to say that for the record.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Alvarado. Out of an abundance of caution, he will refrain from any of this discussion of item 10B1, approval of the self-funded health and dental plan funding rates and benefits for 2017-2018. Dr. Gonzalez. Yes, sir. All three for Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, sir. The district sponsors a self-funded medical plan for its employees, and administration will be presenting a medical plan design changes for an effective date of January 1st, 2018, and we will be requesting action on this item, but I will turn it over to Mr. Todd Miller, and we have Andy Silva here as well. Mr. Miller.
Okay. We'll ask Andy Silva to the podium to speak on this, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Silva.
With me tonight is Mr. Roger Garza, District Benefits Consultant from Value Risk Consulting. He'll be available to answer any questions here, but I'm going to do the presentation. Then, of course, if you have any questions, we can both field them. So there's two items for consideration tonight, and they're listed in Attachment A. Attachment A is a list of current strategies that are being worked on or up for consideration with tentative timeline, financial impact, and potential disruption. You may recognize some of the items there because we have spoken about them in prior meetings. The two items up for consideration today are items 3 and 4 on that attachment, which are the out-of-network deductible differentials and the out-of-pocket maximum. The other items are primarily for information purposes only, although, as I mentioned, we can certainly circle back, and if you have any questions for either myself or Mr. Garza, we can certainly address those. So also to add that items 1, 2, 8, and 14 also on that list will be discussed as part of a separate agenda item tonight. So if you would, I'd ask you to turn to Attachment B for more specifics on the two items we're discussing today. So on Attachment B, there are two tables. So at the top of the chart is what we call our basic benefit plan. And so there's a table for that, and then right below it there's one for our high plan. So I'm going to ask you to focus your attention on the top table, and I'll kind of walk you through what the changes are. The two tables are structured similarly, so the proposed changes for the basic plan are very similar as the high plan. So we'll go over the basic plan. So there in the middle column you have the current in-network and out-of-network deductibles, as well as the current in-network and out-of-network maximum coinsurances. And to the right, the far right column, you have the proposed both in-network and out-of-network deductibles and the proposed in-network and out-of-network maximum coinsurances.
Mr. President, excuse me.
Trustee
Is there any
Sully.
way we can put this on the screen? Anyway, this chart? This.
Do we have the capabilities? Here comes Louis.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Silva, I think.
Yes.
It's actually the next one that we're looking
Yes,
at.
the next one.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, so there, as I was saying, that there's two tables that you can see there at the top is the basic plan, the bottom one's the high plan. So in the middle there, the middle column, you have the current in-network and out-of-network deductibles, as well as the current in-network and out-of-network maximum coinsurances. And on the right column, you have the proposed in-network, out-of-network deductibles, as well as the proposed in-network and out-of-network maximum coinsurances. So I'm going to ask you to focus your attention on that middle column where we have the current deductibles. So currently in-network, in our basic plan, we have a $1,000 individual deductible with a $3,000 family deductible. So look over to your right, there's actually no recommendation to change that. So under proposed, it says no change. If we move down to the next row, out-of-network deductible, currently it's the same, $1,000 individual with $3,000 family. So on this one item, we are recommending to change that to a $3,000 individual and a $9,000 family deductible. Now this particular change, we don't expect will have a big impact to employees or the plan. because we do have a very high utilization of in-network utilization. So the only thing this will accomplish is allow the plan to have a differential, to have a disincentive for out-of-network utilization. So that's the first item for consideration.
So you're saying it's basically to discourage going to out-of-network?
That's exactly right.
It's not,
As you see right now, the current deductible is the same. So in-network, out-of-network, it's the same deductible. So there's no incentive to stay within the network. And as an employee, certainly, there's no difference. As the plan pays more if you're going to out-of-network providers, because there's no contracts between the network and those particular providers.
and is that just for regular doctor visits or major medical type stuff?
Any provider who is out-of-network.
Okay.
Okay, so the next item there is the maximum coinsurance. So in that center column, also currently in network, we have a $2,500 individual deductible and a $10,200 family deductible. The proposed change here is, and actually there's a typo that I'll clarify here. It's a $5,000 individual in network and a $14,700 family deductible. And the reason being that particular in network limit currently allowed by the Affordable Care Act is $7,350 as an individual and $14,700 as a family. So what this will allow is for us to close that gap to what the Affordable Care Act currently allows. So for 2018, that's $7,350 and $14,700. And so on the out-of-network, currently 9,000 individual, 20,000 family, and there is no recommendation to change that. So there for the basic plan are the changes. The bottom table for the high plan, it is formatted the same way, and you can see there what the recommendations are for those particular line items. Also on deductibles and maximum coinsurances.
Any questions for Mr. Silva? Trustee Saldívar.
Thank you, Mr. President. So in essence, getting back to the basic plan on the out-of-network, currently it was $1,000 for individuals, $3,000 for families, and now it's being proposed $3,000 for individuals, $9,000 for families. You just, in essence, just 3 times what it was current.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And how do we determine or arrive at 3 times to be for the out-of-network?
Typically, for the out-of-network family deductibles, it's 3 individuals. So 3 times the individual deductible.
Now, out of the out-of-network that are currently, and I'm sure you did the assessment within the current providers that most of our employees are utilizing, what percentage are out-of-network out of the current plan?
I don't have a percentage. I can tell you, though, in terms of dollars, over a 12-month period, the plan spends about $150,000 in out-of-network expenses.
Okay. And your expectation is by staff being aware that there is a difference, that amount would completely be eliminated or be significantly reduced? What's the projection?
No, sir, and that's why my comment was that we probably won't see a big impact in terms of the employee or the plan, because we already have a high utilization of in-network providers. The majority of that expense that I mentioned is probably providers that are not in-network, where employee doesn't have the luxury of selecting it. For example, we have ER visits where there's out-of-network providers. We have anesthesiologists that are out-of-network providers. So we won't be able to reduce that. Really, the sole purpose of that is just to have that disincentive for voluntary out-of-network utilization. Because of that, there's no difference in the deductible.
So if we have an individual that has very little say because he may be in an emergency situation and go into an anesthesiologist, giving your example, and it's an out-of-network, they will work with the plan, with the provider, and so that the employee may still be able to be within the current rate of $1,000 or $3,000 per family?
In those circumstances, what the plan does is consider them for in-network benefits.
Okay. If it's an emergency situation. Yes. Okay. So other times which are planned is what you're trying to address?
That's exactly right, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Trustee Suarez.
So I have a couple of questions, some of which we've already discussed during our committee meetings. But something that just came off of what Trustee Esparza and Trustee Saldivar said, is if there are doctors that our employees are going to that are out of network, when do we draw the line in trying to get those doctors in our network? Is that something that we as a district do? Is that something that the insurance company does so that we can widen the amount of people in our network? That's my first question.
The answer is both. We're always looking to get the employees to bring that to our attention. To bring it to our attention, we definitely get, in this case, Blue Cross Blue Shield network folks make contact with them if they have not already. But many times it's really the provider's choice not to be a network for whatever reason. So it could be that Blue Cross will not be able to bring them into the network.
What's the incentive for an insurance company to go do that for us, to do the work for us? Because, I mean, obviously.
For the insurance company to do it for us?
Right.
Well, because the greater the network, obviously, the more our employees would be satisfied with the number of providers that are available to them.
Okay.
So bigger networks often mean, and Mr. Hassett can comment on that, that's one of the things we look for when we go out through all these proposals and bids, is that the network is expansive, not only locally, but in other areas, throughout the state and the U.S., so that our employees have access, whether here or on travel status or children away in college. So having a wide network is definitely important to them.
I have one more question for you, then I have a question for Mr. President. Assuming that all this is we move forward with it, can you explain to me the process? I mean, tomorrow the employee's not going to go to a doctor and say, hey, out of a sudden, you have a $3,000 deductible when you've always had $1,000. How does that work? How do we inform our employees? How long does it take? When does it come into effect? Can you kind of explain that to me?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Which I know you already have. But.
So all our plan benefits are calendar year benefits. So it's a January 1st effective date. So assuming it gets approved tonight, immediately tomorrow, the first round of communication, whether email postings, campus postings will go out, informing them of what the changes are. And historically, we do that right in this month as our open enrollment starts rolling out. So that's the annual opportunity for employees to review all their benefits, to make decisions on those benefits, to make changes, cancellations, those kinds of things. Again, and everything's effective January 1st.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you the question again, but now more specific. So would it be possible for employees to say, Mr. Silva, I go to Dr. Suarez and he's not in our network. Now that you've increased it to 3,000, I think it's I'd like for you to try to put him on your network. Do we have that service available? Can we offer that to our employees, that the $100,000 that we're being impacted, obviously it's not a lot that they're going out of network, but the ones that are, can we assure them that we'll at least attempt to get those doctors in our networks?
Well, absolutely. Assure them that we'll try, absolutely.
Okay.
As long as they bring it to our attention. Like I said, there's an actual team that handles network recruiting.
And is that followed up with a letter saying Dr. Suarez chose to be in our network, or he did not choose to be in our network?
I can't say that it's followed up with a letter. I know typically my office would get that notification that we reached out to them and either were negotiating or no, they weren't interested. But certainly my office can be responsible for that. If it comes through us, we can be responsible for relaying it back to the employees.
Dr. Gonzalez, I would like to, if a certain employee is reaching out to Mr. Silva, that we support him with giving him access to be able to return back a courtesy letter to the employee saying this person has participated or hasn't participated, if this is the route that we decided to go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Garza, I have a question. I know you reviewed Art Network versus surrounding networks, and you've dealt in this business before. How is Art Network compared to other districts? Is it large enough? Is it competitive? Are our employees getting the same network, I guess, bounds that other districts are getting?
I'm sorry, for the record, I'm Roger Garza, consultant. I apologize, Dr. Gonzalez and members of the Board of Trustees. To sum it up real quickly, if you're a doctor or a provider in the United States, you're going to fill out what they call the uniform, they got a uniform system. And what happens if you want to apply with Aetna, you want to apply with Blue Cross, you want to get into those networks, you get pre-certified, actually, you get certification, and you issue your provider number. So if you're accepted by either one of them, and I think some of the terms that are required is E&O, professional medical liability, years in practice. Those are very important. How many lawsuits you've had in the last 5 years or complaints to the Texas State Board. So those are some of the prerequisites. Some of the other networks that you currently are seeing are probably not here in Texas. They're probably out of the country. And we couldn't tell, but you know, that's mostly when you get an out-of-network charge is when you're vacationing, you're in the Caribbean or in Europe, you'll get the actual usual and customary charge up there in reimbursement. But to answer your question very briefly, most every provider is either on one network or the other, but by historically.
Okay. All right, Trustee Aliceda.
I was going to ask Mr. Silva, this doesn't require a contract negotiation, correct?
For these changes?
Right.
No.
And then I just want to be clear for everybody. So an individual means employee, and the family means eligible dependents, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further questions? Trustee Esparza?
I'm sorry, Mr. Garza, had a clarification?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Aliceta, it could be the employee, or it could actually be the spouse that reaches that 3,000. So it's individual. It's an individual deductible or out of pocket. So it's either individual. So if it's a child dependent that reaches 3,000 first, or combined. So
okay.
it's just not the employee only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Yes, when individual is one person.
One person.
basically, Within the covered benefits.
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Esparza?
So if this is approved, it takes January 1st, 2018, right?
Yes, sir.
And I want to remember something when I had with buy insurance when I was on my own. If you met your deductible in the fourth quarter, it carries over to the following year. Is that not the case, or is that, am I making that up? Or I remember something like
No,
that.
you're not making it up. I think more and more plans are going away from that. Ours actually still has that.
Oh, good. So if these people have met their deductible at that 1,000 mark, and then January we raise it, how does that come into play? Do they still have to meet now a $3,000 deductible individually, or the 1,000 was the cutoff and they're good?
Well, I'm going to let Roger answer that, because that's a good point.
And I'm just,
And I'm sorry, I was listening, I was watching Mr. Silva, I thought he was going to answer the question, and I missed the last time.
well, you have an individual, say they met the $1,000 deductible in this final quarter.
Right.
It'll carry over to the 2018 school year, or year.
Right.
But we're raising it in January to 3,000. So what does that play? Does that mean they've met their deductible, or no, even though you did, now it's raised, so you still have to raise another $2,000 to meet it?
Well, beginning in January, yes, you'll have to meet the new deductible target. So if you met $1,000, or if you met your full deductible this year, whatever expense you incurred this year will roll over into next year. So everything, you actually get a credit.
Right.
So it'll be applied, but you won't carry the same $1,000 deductible for the next 12 months. So it's actually a benefit that you're leaving here. We're not touching that. So if in the last quarter, as you say, if it rolls over, then they get to carry that with them. Not a lot of plans do that anymore. And the reason that it historically became like that was because school districts and cities and counties, their fiscal year always started September 1, and your plan used to begin October 1. So we didn't want to penalize the employees with two different sets of deductibles.
Okay. One more question. By raising, the out-of-network deductible from 1,000 to 1,000, 3,000 to 3,000, 9,000, will that in any way affect the employee's premium cost?
No. What you're doing here, sir, is you're actually separating your high plan away from your base plan. You're actually creating a buffer. Because if you look at the way the law was set up, the Affordable Care Act, once your total expenses reaches, in this case, the law says $14,700, combined by all family members, it becomes 100%. So basically, both plans, the way you had them set up in the past, were reaching that a lot quicker. So in the out-of-pocket doesn't necessarily apply to the Affordable Care Act. They don't care whether you pay in out-of-network benefits under the law. So if you have in-networks or you have contracted hospitals, you can continue. But there's some plans now in the commercial world that are just becoming 50% out-of-network, and it just stays that way until it reaches whatever amount they pay, which is $1 million.
I don't think you answered my question. Is there premium costs going to be affected in any way?
There's no premium cost here. Sorry about that.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
The answer is simply no. This doesn't affect the premiums. And that was another one of the notes in the item, that the decision on premiums and rates was made during budget time. So those decisions were made several months back, and the only change that was made was to increase the employer contribution by $50 per employee per month. But again, that decision was made months ago, so there's nothing here related to the employee part of the premium.
Okay, here's my part two. How will that change affect our employer costs as far as the amount the district has to pay for? Is it affected in any way?
Overall, in terms of our fund, yes. Overall, these two changes together are probably, and it's based on estimates and assumptions of utilization being identical. Potentially, our plan would save about $800,000.
800? Over a period of 12 months?
Period of 12 months. That's based on prior utilization. And again, because as Mr. Garza mentioned, the way it was set up, our employees would meet that cap very quickly. So after that, the plan pays 100%. So this spreads that gap a little further. So potentially, assuming the same utilization, exact same claims, we're talking about $800,000 in plan savings.
Back into the fund balance? Yes.
Any further questions or comments?
Mr. President.
Trustee Saldivar.
Going into the max co-insurance, there was no change for the out-of-network. It remains $9,000 for individual, $27,000 for family. And currently it was $2,500 for individual and $10,200 for family, and it's being proposed to go to $5,000 for individual, $14,700 for the family. How do we arrive at that figure? Going to $5,000. I know $14,700 you said was the max under the statute.
And I'm going to share my thoughts, but then I'll also let Mr. Garza speak. The $5,000 actually puts us back to where we were before the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act in 2014 is when we had to adjust some of these limits to be compliant. And so that's where we were in 2014. We were at a 5,000 individual. Now, I don't know if that's part of the thinking Mr. Garza and his associates put into it, but for me, it just made sense that was a solid number because it puts us back to where we were. We were doing relatively well in the way our plan was operating back then. And so it seemed like a solid number to me, but I'll definitely let Mr. Garza comment on making up.
Again, if you look at the previous number, 2,500, where we're doing the adjustment, the 2,500 is your 20% co-insurance amount, which you reach it at approximately $12,000. That's medical dollars. Because the cost of medical care has risen so much faster, you're actually reaching that target a lot faster. We always said you probably reach it in the first day and a half that you're confined in a hospital. So we need to make your plan a little bit more competitive to stay competitive with the rest of the commercial, if not government world. And in this particular case, the 2,500 would actually create a buffer for you, so the employee would actually have to pay what a base plan pays.
And based on our current experience, How much are we talking about that is being reached now and in which this is occurring? You mentioned earlier on the basic plan, deductibles was 100,000 more or less. What about on the max co-insurance? How much is that?
That was the figure I alluded to, that it's about 800 and, I think the analysis was 830 some odd thousand. And to give you some idea, at the $2,500 and $750, we had approximately 430 folks that exceeded those limits. Prior years when there was lower, we were at about 130. So about 300 or so more individuals were meeting that lower out-of-pocket limit, the co-insurance maximum.
And I know it may be an oversimplification, but in essence, we're shifting this from the plan to the employee, 800,000.
It's definitely a shift. Again, it assumes that the employee will have those expenses, but the liability, if you will, is shifting to the employee for an additional, in the case of the basic plan, $2,500, and in case of the high plan for $1,750. Yes, sir.
Now, I can't ask this question because it's not on the agenda, but I really am interested in finding out if we were to put any of our current fund balance, and I don't know if it's allowed or if it's wise, but can we explore that possibility of what that might have? Because for 3 years, we didn't take about 1.5 million más o menos. And I know it's not dollar per dollar, but if we can somehow supplement back into the fund balance of the plan, I'd like to see that.
Well, I can certainly try and address that.
Because to be candid, I'm a little concerned we're doing this shift. And then down the road, right now there isn't any plan to increase, but I want to hedge that we're not going to, and if we have to, it's not going to be significant. Where in essence, we took the 1.5 plus that we took out of the plan by not charging premium, and now we're going to come back in and raise our rates to make up that fund balance amount. And that's when I know there are different pieces at different times, but really they're incongruent because of some prior decision and some future forecasts that we got to tie in together, I think, in the final analysis.
Yes, sir. And actually, that's the whole point of me attaching that attachment A, to give you kind of an idea of some of the things that are going into the thinking about not only currently, but the future. So without going into too much detail on those, because I'm not sure if we're allowed to, because they're not agenda items.
Yes, sir.
If you look at number 12 and number 13, and they're not necessarily in that order, but 12 and 13 are to have discussions again this year, employee premiums and employee contributions. So it's not just one strategy, it is a combination of strategies. One of the strategies that we had discussed that we need to consider is adjusting that, as we're discussing today, that out-of-pocket maximum, because we had to adjust it to comply with the Affordable Care Act, and we are starting to see some of the effects. So it was one of the items we put on the top of the list to bring to you to consider. Some of those others we'll be bringing to you, we'll be discussing. I want to set up some committees possibly to talk about all these things, but it's all part of a bigger picture to bring our plan back to where it was in prior years, because we are definitely seeing a very drastic shift in our fund balance. It's at a level that I haven't seen since I've been here.
And by level mean it's a concern, significant concern.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And you're making reference to item 12, which is employee premiums to be determined, which is the financial impact of the plan, and also to be determined employee contribution, disruption in potential. And the other items, employer contribution to be determined, and none at this time. So, but you're looking at a target of a plan change, if any, July 1st of 2018.
Again, it will be a discussion that will be finalized during the budget period for a fiscal year start.
Yes.
And some concessions could be made there also, because as Mr. Garza pointed out, the fiscal year is one thing, the plan year is another, and then the contract period is another. So we have 3 different dates in there that all complicate, all of these things and when they get implemented.
Yeah, this is chess, not check.
Thank you.
Trustee Suarez.
I think the elephant in the room is that the price of insurance, of medical expenses is skyrocketing. And you know, Mr. Saldiva's right, we have increased premiums for whatever reason. And nor do we want to bombard it and you know, give it all back to the employees. But at some point, we have to find a way to save some money. I think this team has been working strong since we first met. And I know that this is something that I don't think anyone on this board wants to do, but the last thing I would want to do is come inform the public and the employees that there's no money in the fund balance. And not so much because we didn't plan right, but also because of the price of you know, medical expenses. I want first to attest that it's incredible what we're paying now for a day at the hospital, much less a week. I don't even think in my lifetime I'll pay off what I owe, but and a lot of that's true for many employees. But I will tell you that as a sole proprietor, when I go look for insurances and I look at what I have to pay for my family, I wish I would have chosen this industry, because at least you're able to afford, you know, health care. And although it seems like we're shifting $800,000 back to the employee, I challenge every employee to go out there, get online, and look what insurance would cost them for their family if they didn't work for our district. I think this district, previous boards have done an excellent job in trying to keep costs down, but the reality is we have to make some changes to continue to you know, charge the employees the bare minimum. But in those changes, there's some sacrifices that we need to make. I will be the first to want to approve this recommendation. I think it's $800,000. It's not $5 or $6 million, but it's baby steps to get to where we need to get to. So thank you for y'all's hard work.
Trustee Esparza.
One last thing, Andy, real quick, if you can, I don't know if you have access to it there, but maybe tomorrow or something, can you send us what premium costs are for employees, the different plans, you know, for individual, family plan, spouse, or whatever it is?
I can absolutely
low
send it
plan
to
and
you,
high plan.
but I could read them to you if you like.
Okay.
Just for the record.
He knew you were going to ask it. Debbie and I told him.
Because I had a spouse of one of our employees mentioning it, and I said, I don't remember the actual number. It sounded really high what they were mentioning to me, so I thought, well, let me find out.
And I should know by memory, but I don't.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
You can tell us what you paid.
Employee doesn't, if it's just employee, is there a small cost to employees?
So we have three plans,
Okay.
the basic, the high, and the state. So the basic plan, and we have several tiers within them. So the employee-only basic plan is $52. The employee with one child is $218.
Is this a pay period or a month?
These are monthly costs.
A monthly.
$218 employee with one child?
Employee with one child. Employee and spouse is $363. Employee and family is $430. And in the high plan, same tiers, $128, $256, $470, and $572. In our state plan, which is the richest, we have very little participation, but the rates are $261, $526, $677, and $997.
Okay, thank you. Can you go ahead and email it to us though anyway, just so I make sure I have the numbers
I
correct?
can send you, oh, there you go.
It's up on the board there.
That's on our website.
Oh, it is?
These are all with $1,000 deductible, am I correct?
The basic plan has 1,000, the high plan has 500, the state plan has, I believe it has zero to it.
$1,300 a month with a $7,000.
Yeah, the state plan has zero deductible.
Twice. Sure about.
in terms of co-insurance, it's a 70 plan, an 80 plan, and an 85% plan.
Just because you have a zero deductible doesn't mean you're still not going to get a bill from the hospital, right, saying this wasn't covered, right?
That's true.
That's going to happen
You might
anyway.
still get because there's co-insurances involved.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? With that being said, the approval of the self-funded health and dental plan funding rates and benefits for 2017.
Hold on, can we go back for the approval of B1?
That's the approval of B1, sir.
You need to make a motion.
Oh,
10B1, we need a motion to approve self-funded health and dental plan funding rates and benefits for 2017-2018.
so moved.
I have a motion by trustee Suarez. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by trustee Esparza. Yes, sir, Mr. Esparza.
And I know it says health fund and dental plan. Is the dental plan in any way being affected on that?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
Okay.
That title was just because it's standard to include, one title that would cover any potential changes, but no.
It's not being affected.
The only two changes are those two that we discussed in attachment B.
All right.
Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it, 5-0. Item 10B2, discussion and possible action on requests for proposals for medical and dental plan administration and related services. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. As a sponsor of a self-funded medical and dental plan, the district has contracted Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas since 2010 as its claims administrator. Mr. Miller and Mr. Silva will be providing a status on the current claims administration contract and related strategies, and we will be requesting direction on this item. Mr. Miller.
All right. Andy, would you take this item?
Absolutely.
We discussed earlier?
Yes, sir. So the reason we put this item was just to discuss not only the contract, but some of the strategies that potentially could impact that contract. So as it was mentioned, that Blue Cross has been our administrators since 2010. Most recently, we awarded a contract effective for a 3-year term, October 1st, 2016. So October 1st, 2017 is the beginning of the second of a 3-year term. In some of our meetings previously, we discussed some concerns in excuse me, in some of the timeliness of Blue Cross's responsiveness to some of the district needs, and particularly with information that I needed. And so that led to discussion about, well, how good are they servicing our account? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? So we discussed the claims audit, and so I just wanted to bring you up to date that we are proceeding with that. We've already received some proposals. We're hoping to get at least 3. We only have 2, so if we can get a third one at that point, we'll be prepared to move to the next step. Certainly we'll be starting it before the end of this year. I'm very confident of that. Whether or not it gets finished at the end of this year, that remains to be seen, because it depends on the availability of the auditors and scheduling all that with Blue Cross and then on-site, those kinds of things. But I'm very confident that we'll go ahead and get that started within this fourth quarter in 2017. So the other item there, the client-specific contracts, one of the things we did ask Blue Cross to do for us is to help us negotiate some client-specific contracts. We feel we're a big enough group where there might be some providers out there that'd be willing to negotiate with us and give us a better deal. And so with Mr. Garza's assistance, at least one provider came to the table, and the discussion started fairly quickly, and they were moving fairly quickly, and then they just kind of stalled. And so again, that for me, that was frustrating. In the last couple of days, actually, things started moving again, so I can report that just today, Mr. Garza and I had a conference call with Blue Cross, and they were able to finalize an analysis of that provider's proposal. And while we're not prepared to tell you that it's a done deal, it looks very promising. If we get it done, that'll be another opportunity for the employee to save money and for the plan to save money. They're offering to reduce our costs, but they're also offering to reduce some of the employees' coinsurance and out-of-pocket expenses. So it would be similarly structured like our arrangement with Preventative Care Institute, where they agreed to lower their copays, and our employees just navigated toward them without us having to do much. Well, it'll be structured hopefully very, very similar to that. And again, it's not final, but just today, it's very promising that we might get to something very quickly. The other item there that involves our claim administrator to some extent is an eligibility audit. We've talked about that in the past, about our claims being paid strictly for our eligible employees and dependents. So we got that on the list of things to consider. It is a separate scope from the claims audit, so that's why it's not being done together, but it's definitely something that we'll be considering. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is actually the claims administration services. So as I mentioned, we're in the second year of a 3-year contract. One of the items Mr. Garza has asked us to consider is a reference-based pricing model. Now, as we mentioned at the last meeting, it's kind of extreme to what we're used to. We're used to a network provider. This would be outside of a network, a direct contracting aside. It's more of what's fair and reasonable. But if we were to go down that route, Blue Cross has already shared with us that they would not be prepared to administer it. So that they have contracts with providers, and this would go against their model, basically. They have agreed upon contracts, and they pay based on those contracts. So what does that mean for us? That means if we want to consider that model, we'd probably find a new administrator. And so even though we have another year left in the agreement, I'm recommending that we start the process to go out to bid. Certainly doesn't hurt us to do that. We do it early enough. We still have an option at the end of that term to say, hey, this didn't work out, it's not for us. We're not going to go in that direction, and we have another option on Blue Cross to elect. But it is something that I'm recommending we pursue. And typically when we're going out to bid for a 10/1 effective date, we do it in January. So if we were to do this, then we'd start an RFP process in January and go through the process of evaluating the options and then consider our options for a 10/1 2018 effective date. And so really, I just wanted to share with you, those things that are going on. Yes, sir.
Trustee Suarez.
Okay, several questions, because we've had some of these discussions already, but I just want to, so let's talk first about the bidding process. There's no reason why Blue Cross Blue Shield wouldn't win the bid again. Unless we specify in the request for proposal that there has to be reference-based pricing, am I correct?
That would be like the primary one. If we were to specify reference-based pricing, then odds are that we would not be awarding to them if that's the direction we're heading. Because, again, unless they change their mind and they develop some other kinds of service model, then they probably wouldn't be interested in providing us that service.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about reference-based pricing versus what Blue Cross Blue Shield is saying. I guess my direct question is, if we go through reference-based pricing, are we jeopardizing the quality of care of our employees?
I would definitely say not the quality of care. What the model is, and Mr. Garza can elaborate, the model does away with contracting. So let's say, and the model we're considering or been discussing is strictly on the hospital side. So not the provider side, not the doctor side. There would still be a network on the doctor side. Nothing would really change on the doctor side. Well, what potentially could change is on the hospital side. So rather than have a network of hospitals, you would go to any hospital. You don't have to worry about in-network, out-of-network, because there is no contractual arrangement. And what these firms do is they establish what the cost is for the particular service, and then they pay it based on a certain percentage above Medicare that is considered reasonable and fair, and documented that the facility accepts that for Medicare.
Okay.
In probably an oversimplified kind of way.
Okay.
And so...
We'll stop right there before I get confused.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a Mickey Mouse question, all right? So, an MRI costs me $100, right, with Medicaid. And let's say we're going to pay, the network provider is going to pay $150, right? Are they going to turn around after we pay the $150, come back and charge me the additional $700 they wanted to get to begin with?
We didn't discuss this, but That's an excellent question, because as I was sharing with you at the last meeting, that is a possibility.
Okay.
But, and that was my major concern when I first started researching this, that because there's no contracts, the provider technically has the legal right to go back and say, okay, you paid me X, but the balance, hey, I'm going to bill your employee. So that's why it requires a lot of research and a lot of discussion. I will tell you that Mr. Garza has shared with me that there's ways to address that, where the employee would have minimal risk. And one of the vendors I've already spoken with, we had a conference call, while they wouldn't put it 100%, they said their experience is a very small percentage might get a balance bill. And of those that get balance bill, this particular vendor says, we are going to go up to bat for that employee, assign legal representation, and say, you no longer communicate with our employee, you're going to have to deal with this attorney, and they work to resolve that situation with that provider. The one vendor I spoke to, and again, it wasn't contractual, it was just their sales pitch, that they said that they'd even go on the limb and say, it hasn't happened to them, but if it does, and it happens to be one of McAllen ISD's employees, they'll pay that bill. So that's what gave me the encouragement.
We can get that part in writing, right?
Well, yes, sir. If I could, if I can, I will. Now, that's what gave me the encouragement to at least pursue it, because my hesitation was balance billing.
Yeah.
Because even though our plan may save a lot of money, and the potential is to save a lot of money, then it just shifts to the employee. And I know none of us want that.
No. Okay, that's my one question. Oh, I got two more questions. All right, now let's talk about what's currently happening with our insurance provider now. Let's say, for example, that I have a $1,000 deductible. Who is making sure that I pay that deductible?
A couple of, there's a couple of checks and balances there. Well, one is the provider. The provider definitely is the one that always asks for it up front. Now, in terms of how the claim gets processed, obviously that would be Blue Cross Blue Shield. As part of their process, their adjudication system to take into account that there was a deductible due and then pay the balance based on that. So there's really two folks that are involved in that process.
Okay. Now, how much does it hurt the district if they're not paying that deductible?
Well, I think that if they're not paying it, then technically the plan is taking on that expense, because if they're paying the claim on the assumption that that's been paid already and it hasn't, well, then the liability is the plan's. Would that be a correct statement?
Any further questions? Trustee Saldivar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, the key is, I think, another moving part here is this audit. You know, so it's good to see that it's on there, and we're looking at a timeline of the fourth quarter of 2017. But more importantly, going into the third year of the contract is to ensure that there's compliance with the contract with our current provider. So it's another moving part, because it was news to me that it was an automatic payment without verification, which created a real drain on the finances of the fund balance on the health coverage. We're not talking about the fund balance of FMLO. The plan has its own fund balance, and it has to be solvent, at least. And so that is a concern I think we've had, that we were not made aware that there was an automatic payment on some of these, and many of them were out of network, but we now understand why, because we didn't have a differentiation on the copay. But the point I'm making is that audit is key to understanding what got us into the situation with the current plan as we move forward. So I'm really interested at the earliest part of the fourth quarter, because it all backs into what then happens going into 2018 for us. And we begin our budget cycle or review for the next year in January. So it'd be great to start having some information as we go forward.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Esparza.
Yes, sir.
Without that audit, though, there's no way of knowing if any claims are being overpaid or anything like that, right? I mean, you have no knowledge or anything of it?
It'd be tough for us through reporting to be able to really dive deep into that. There may be some things we can look at that kind of say, okay, well, let's look at that a little closer, see what's going on there. But the adjudication system and how that's handled, and how the claims and the number of claims, yeah, it would be difficult. And I think that's where the claims audit would come in. These auditors have the experience to run the claims and to pick out areas that look suspect, and then take a very deep dive on whether or not there's any errors or issues. And then develop some kind of report to say, okay, here potentially you had an X number of claims, X number of dollars. Conversely, the audit may show that, things were being done
correctly.
So,
But, and if the audit did show that there was errors on the administrator's part, when we have a contract, then we'd have some recourse through that, right?
I think more so than any other years, because this year we're actually paying a fiduciary fee. So Blue Cross contractually is supposed to be acting as our fiduciary. That wasn't the case in prior years where maybe the contract would have to get scrutinized even further to see what kind of recourse we had and what was their obligation. Because they are our payers, so technically they're working for us. But the current contract, they're actually taking a fiduciary role.
So they're responsible for making sure that claims are being paid correctly.
That would be our position and our argument if there's any issues, yes, sir.
Okay.
If I may, follow up, Mr. President.
Trustee Saldívar.
One of the conversations we had about preparing for this audit was how they were going to select the files for review. And we had some understanding and awareness of certain procedures that we knew weren't covered under the plan that had been brought to either you or Mr. Garza's attention that we were paying for. So how do we know for sure what is being pulled in audit is going to be subject to the audit? Who makes that determination?
Well, we'll definitely take the lead from the auditors, but we also have obviously the ability to tell them to look for certain areas. I will tell you that I looked at because we have done an audit of a TPA many years ago. I looked through that, and that service in question was actually on their list many years ago. So it's probably pretty standard to look for those kinds of things. So, but we can definitely work with them to target certain areas, and I'm sure take their direction on if those are good areas to focus on or not. They'll be able to guide us with that.
Thank you.
Trustee Aliceda.
So your recommendation is that we do the audit and we get the information back from the audit, and then in preparation for that, next year so next year would be the third year of our current vendor, right? It would be the starting of their third year.
Yes.
So you're recommending that at this time next year, start to go out for an RFQ again with these new reference-based pricing and put it out there and see if different vendors, including the vendor we already have, will jump onto that, right? So you're suggesting stay where we are, stay the course right now, get the audit, get the information from the audits?
Stay the course right now, get the information for the audit for the second year of the 3-year term.
Okay.
But at the same time, start a process earlier than
January
the end
1.
of the third-year term, only because one of the considerations is reference-based pricing, and we already know Blue Cross wouldn't administer that. So let's say we get some proposals and we feel comfortable that reference-based pricing is the way to go. We're not going to be able to continue with Blue Cross the third year anyway. So might as well be prepared in advance to make that decision. But we would still have the option for the third year with Blue Cross.
So just because you go out for RFQ doesn't mean you actually have to act upon it.
Right.
So you're just doing that out of an abundance of caution. You're having things in place in case the audit comes back and the audit says.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The focus would definitely be reference-based pricing, administrative services.
Okay. But nothing's changed right now. No, we're not terminating anything right now. Business as usual.
Business as usual would be my recommendation. Again, we'll go through the audit, see what that looks like, to see if there's any concerns, and then have another discussion about what to do after.
Thank you.
Trustee Esparza.
So then you're looking at potentially earliest of that, what's it called, reference-based pricing kicking in would be 18-19 school year or January 1, 2019, right?
If we stick with the contract periods, October 1st, 2019.
October 1st, 2019, okay.
A follow-up to Mr. Esparza's question. If we separate before that date, are we looking at a penalty from our current providers?
Not a penalty, but whenever we separate, we have to consider the cost of separating. Because it's not an easy transition to go from one administrator to the other. Typically, the administrator that is being let go, if you will continue paying claims for a certain period of time, and there's costs related to that. Typically, those costs are more than what we're paying now. There's a much higher run-out fee. Why? The logic is that, they have to have separate systems for a very short period of time for a certain number of claims only versus what they're doing now that, it's a large number of claims, huge volume. So we have to weigh that into the calculation, and we always do. There's always a cost to switch administrators.
Do we have a projected number of what it could be, or is it a game time decision, shall we say?
Yes, it is a game time decision because it's based on the expected number of claims. I don't have that number with me, but it's in their contract, and it's very easy to estimate potentially that the cost of moving away from them would be.
If you wouldn't mind sharing that information with the board.
I'll send that along with the rates that y'all requested. Yes, sir.
Most appreciative. Any further questions? Trustee Alisada.
But if there was to be a separation, there is a no-fault clause and a fault clause. So having that audit would be of great use to you.
60-day notice or without cause.
Right.
Provision.
Any further questions? Board, before us, we have the discussion and possible action on requests for proposals for medical and dental plan administration and related services. Is there a motion to move forward?
Mr. President, based on what Mr. Silva says in his recommendation, I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Suarez, a second by Trustee Saldivar. Last opportunity for questions.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Just to be clear, what is it we're moving forward?
What are we moving for?
The discussion and possible action on the RFP for the medical and dental plan administration and related services.
If we could maybe use the language that's in the motion, it may be clearer in the proposed text as recommended board action. It may be clearer if we read that into.
Well, I'm just.
The intent of the item was to get some direction because there was some concerns brought to my attention, and so I wanted to make sure the full board was okay with how I'm planning to proceed. So if there was any concerns with that, certainly I would need some direction. But my direction was going to be business as usual, basically, with those caveats about going through an audit and planning out for an RFP, but not going out for bid currently for 10/1/2017. Yes, sir.
But it does say, if you look at item 4, the RFP would begin on January the 1st, 2018, which is to Trustee Aliceda's. However, that does not necessarily mean that we're going to take action on that because the contract's not even up until October 1st. So it'll be in consideration with all other moving parts as to whether or not we will renew the 3rd year or move on the RFP back closer to October of 2018.
I guess I'm just not understanding why we have to take any action on this because it's just business as usual. I don't understand the action that we're taking.
I would defer to legal counsel, but yes, I don't necessarily need any action. It was just to bring it forward. If there was something you needed to direct me to, give you that opportunity.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, sir.
And I apologize for the confusion, but we're simply asking for requesting direction from the board, and we were just trying to share our plan, and if y'all are okay with the direction that we're going, then we will proceed with the direction that we're describing.
Given the complexity of this, and the amount of time and energy we've been putting tonight and in other previous meetings and all the various issues that we're now faced with the plan, it behooves us to have it where there's a clear direction from the board as to what that is. And so the motion accompanying the record and the minutes of the meeting with the chart that's outlined, there'll be no misunderstanding as we continue to move forward. So I think it's important, given, again, the complexity and what potentially could be an impact to the plan, but more importantly to our employees and the solvency of the plan, and more importantly, the balancing of a salary and the benefits package for attracting and retaining future employees. This is a mission critical for conversation, so I think a direction needs to be given from the board.
Yes.
Point of order, there's a motion and a second on the floor, so if you want to go with the motion in the package, you have to withdraw the motion and the second to move forward.
Well, I'm confused. When Michelle, when you were explaining, you said that you wanted to go out for the RFQ based upon the issues that you were having now. So that is what my motion is directed towards, but now it seems to be different.
No, so maybe I should clarify. My position was that we were into the second year of the contract. Administratively, we had a discussion that we were going to continue into the second year, that all the processes have been moving in that direction, that we were not going out to bid for a 10/1/2017 RFP, but because of the moving parts of what Mr. Garza has presented to us, that we have the opportunity to go out earlier than usual so that we can consider other options for next year. So continue course for the second year with the current RFP, the current administrator. We still have one more option to consider later, but there's no harm in exploring the reference-based pricing claims administration services.
The thing we've run into in the past, and we had a good long conversation, I still remember that meeting at Kathy, in which we were within the 90 days, and there was significant issues in the plan back then. It was in 2009-10, and the administration didn't have enough time. We basically that night had to say yes to the plan or no, and I was not in favor to be in that situation. So I commend Mr. Silva that he's allowing us enough time, that enough information is gathered from the audit and what currently is occurring with the current plan that we just approved with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and simultaneously, not until January of 2018, start the process of the possibility, so that when we have to make a decision 90 days before October 1st of 2018, we have all the various information that we can make a decision. We stay, we go, we have another alternative. And if we have an issue with the carrier because of the fiduciary part, do we have any actionable there? So it puts us in the best of all worlds. But the important thing I see is again, getting back to the business at hand, is that this is, the administration's asking for direction. They've outlined a course of action or strategy that says claims administration related strategies. And I would suggest we take the actionable item motion, the way it's worded there, so there's no ambiguity and misunderstanding from this board going forward. I'm sorry?
Trustee Esparza.
Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong one, but I don't see,
154. It's not worded as a motion.
yeah, I don't see it worded correctly. So, I mean, they're asking for direction. I think we just need, I know there's a motion, we need to vote on it. I think they're asking for direction. We just give them direction as he indicated. But the way Mr. Suarez read it, to me, that item is not very clear as this is what we're going to do. Well, he stated what his direction was. Let's just say proceed as directed, but I guess we need to vote on his motion.
Well, unless you're willing to withdraw.
Okay.
Do you want to withdraw your motion?
Here's the problem that I have, and probably the way just all this works because of how complicated things are, but for over a year, I've been asking questions about insurance, and for over a year, we haven't been able to get the direction that we want and the answers. Mr. Silva tells us that he's having trouble, and all of a sudden it's on the agenda, and Blue Cross Blue Shield now is answering phone calls. And if we wait another year, which I'm okay with it, I don't have a problem with it, but it's more money that's being suckered out of our fund balance, and it's more time that we're allowing this to happen, and if that's the direction that the board wants to do, that's fine. My understanding of what this motion was we were going to proceed with the audit, we were going to proceed with going out for an RFQ, and based upon what the audit came out, then we would move forward with the RFQ. But now, it seems to be different. That's what I thought the discussion was when we had our meeting, and I don't have a problem with it. I just, I set forth this motion because that's what I believe we were doing. If it's something different, then I'd like for it to be clarified, and if you clarify it, I'll withdraw my motion, but that's what my understanding of this motion was.
It may make, go ahead. All right, thank you. It may make clearer, because the way it's worded there doesn't really coincide with the heading on the next page, is that we maybe change our motion, so that the Board of Trustees direct the administration to proceed with the outlined McAllen ISD self-funded medical plan, claim administrative-related strategies.
Where are you reading that?
What I'm doing is I'm taking part of the language that's here, and I'm looking at the heading, which is on page 165, exactly. Because the heading tells you everything, because that is what is outlined below.
But the strategy has changed within this conversation here. So as at this point, I don't know what the strategy is.
I see it no different than what's been outlined there, unless I'm misunderstanding what we've been talking about. Everything that you've said is in those 4 items listed on page 165.
That's correct. That is the strategy, and Mr. Suarez, maybe the confusion with our discussion was the timing of all this, because you are correct that the first order of business was a claims audit. So I would not be comfortable coming to you and saying, let's bid it.
No doubt.
Because I don't have any information to suggest Blue Cross is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, it is true our claims experience has gone up, but is that a function of bad administration or higher cost or high utilization? That everything seems to point that it's our utilization. Now, could there be some potential issues with the claims? Absolutely. So that's what the audit would show. So for October 1st, which just happened, October 1st, the second term of the contract, it would not be my recommendation to date that we go out to bid to replace them for a calendar year plan of January 1st, 2018.
Which we had already discussed.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, so the only additional information that maybe we didn't discuss was going out to bid related to the reference-based pricing, because that's a whole different service that, based on the information I have now, Blue Cross would not be prepared to offer us. So we would have to bid it out anyway to figure out who could provide us those services, if it's something we want to pursue. If it's not, then we have a third year to consider with Blue Cross, or not, depending on what the audit results are.
With that, I withdraw my motion.
All right. Mr. Saldivar, are you withdrawing your second?
I withdraw the second, and now I'd like to put another motion, is I move that the Board of Trustees provide the direction to the administration to undertake the self-funded medical plan claims administrative related strategies as outlined on page 165 of our packet. Attachment A.
We have a motion from Trustee Saldivar. Is there a second? We have a motion from Trustee Saldivar. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Trustee Suarez. Last opportunity for questions.
This is key that we provide this direction tonight, to put all the motion play. Otherwise, we're going to be back against the wall in the next year, going to approve a plan on October 1st, 2018, going into the next year. And this changes nothing with our current plan. It doesn't. The audit still has to be done. The RFP would go out in 2018 for the next year, and then when all the information comes together, including continued conversations with our current provider, which is key, hopefully we can address some misunderstandings and some concerns, and then we can make a decision as to how we want to proceed down the road. That's all we're doing tonight, is giving the administration clear direction as outlined on that page right there.
Trustee Esparza.
We didn't need a motion for that, though, right? We just could have, as directed?
Well, the only thing with the motion is you're giving specific directions. You could say as directed.
What's the direction?
It may not be as clear as if you make a motion to give specific direction.
Final questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 4-1.
Thank you.
Item 10B3, discussion of MISD board policy, DEC local compensation and benefit leaves and absences. This is the first reading. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The district seeks the revision to DEC local policy to allow all employees to accumulate local leave equally. This item is for a first reading. No action is required at this time. Mr. Miller?
Sure. Current policy, for persons hired before July 1st, 2012, local leave shall be accumulated without limit. For persons hired after July 1st, 2012, local leave shall accumulate for a maximum of 30 days. Simply recommending to the board that we eliminate that division of our employees and replace it with a simple sentence, local leave shall accumulate without limit. Currently, this policy divides our people into those two groups of people. Sorry. So those hired before July 1st can accumulate local leave. It's unlimited, and the other group is, the second group is capped at 30 days. Last year, 2016, 2017, all total, we only had 46 employees total have any reimbursement of leave when they retired. Of that 46, 28 were professional for 1,493 days. The advantage of this policy change is it allows all employees to accumulate leave equally. It eliminates the use it or lose it concerns employees may have with the current cap. And more importantly, it allows the more accumulated leave helps us to ensure continuity in the classroom because they're not going to be use it or lose it mentality, so they'll be in the classroom for our children for the continuity of instruction. The only disadvantage is there is a potential cost increase to the district, but maybe more employees will be saving their leave up now to cash it in when they retire. But again, last year we only had 46 employees, or 1.3% of our employees cashed their leave in when they retired. So we just want to treat all of our employees equally and maintain the continuity of instruction in our classroom.
Trustee Saldivar.
Do you really need to have that one sentence in there? If you follow everything that's there without a limit?
I'm sorry to interrupt. According to TASB, yes, they said you have to have something. If you're going to replace that sentence, you need to have some limit, if no limit or some limit.
And this language is, TASB's looked at it and it takes into account all our contingencies and our current experience.
Yes, sir.
So there's no loopholes or ambiguity left.
No, sir. Kathy London said most bigger districts have this exact phrase in their policy.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, that'll wrap it up as we jump back to our board agenda. Item 8B2, the report regarding the monthly financial and investment report for June 2017. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Ms. Garcia will present the monthly financials for June 2017, and this item is for information only.
Thank you.
The report regarding the monthly financial and investment report provides a comparison of budget to revenues, expenditures, and encumbrances for the, in this case, for the month of June 30th, 2017. And it also, of course, provides a report on our district investments. What you see on the screen right now is included in your packet, and it is that comparison. The various columns include the approved budget and actuals for the previous fiscal year in columns A and B, and then also our column C and D concerns the period in question, which is through June 2016-17 approved budget on column C through June 30th, 2017, and then year-to-date actuals. In terms of revenues, the year-to-date actuals was $240,216,191, a difference of $765,644 in comparison to the actual budget amount. In terms of expenditures, we had a total of $237,294,408. The difference in expenditures from budget was $10,306,211, and because this is the last report for the 2017 fiscal year, you see that the outstanding encumbrance columns is at 0 for the period. The difference accounts for savings or savings and as well as some projects that will be carried forward into the 2018 fiscal year. In regards to the investment report, board policy requires that we report at least on a quarterly basis. However, the practice has been to bring it on a monthly basis. In regards to our investment, this report reflects the period of June 30th, 2017 through June 1st through June 30th, 2017. On the report, it provides the beginning and ending book value, as well as the average yield to maturity. In this case, it's 0.959%. The portfolio is doing well. It's a very well diversified portfolio. On the chart, you can see how it's broken down by the different types of investments and securities, as well as the bottom chart provides the terms of the different investments. Most of the district's money is in very liquid assets, very liquid investments with daily liquidity, and up to 2-year period. In terms of interest earnings for the June 30th month ending, the month interest earnings were $68,740.42, bringing the fiscal year end total to $754,742.47. This concludes my report on the June 30th, 2017, the monthly report for June 2017.
Any questions for Mrs. Garcia? All right. Item 8B3, the report regarding the monthly financial investment report for July 2017. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Now, Ms. Garcia will move on to the monthly financials for July 2017. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Garcia.
And this is a very similar report. The only difference is that this report focuses on the month of July through July 31st, 2017, and that's the first month of our fiscal year. And in terms of the approved budget for 2017-2018, there is identified as $235,335,097 for the period, which is July 1st through July 31st. The year-to-date actual expenditures are $1.5 million. And then, of course, we still have we've got some outstanding encumbrances to go in our expenditures column because we just started out the fiscal year. The budgeted expenditures are $236,896,469, and thus far we have expended a little bit over $6 million of that. In regards to our investment report for the month of July, we've also our portfolio has also been performing well. Our average year to maturity increased from the prior month to 1.027%. And in regards to investment earnings for the month ending July 31st, that amount is $76,891.34, which is also the fiscal year to date amount. And that concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Any questions? Item 8B4, report regarding taxes collected for August 2017. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Ms. Garcia will now report on the monthly taxes collected by the Hidalgo County Tax Office on behalf of McAllen ISD for August 2017. This item is for information purposes only. Ms. Garcia.
And one more report on the taxes collected for the period being reported. Total collections for August 2017 report included $404,126.15. In regards to the 2016 and prior years, the original tax levy is at 6.799, and of that collected to date is $803,000. In regards to the comparison to prior year collection, 2017 and 2018 collections are slightly higher than the prior year, so we saw an improvement in terms of the percent collected compared to last year for the same amount of time. And that concludes the report on the August 2017 taxes collected.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Any questions?
Mr. President.
Trustee Saldívar.
Ms. Garcia, thank you, Ms. Ms. Garcia. This is total collections for coming through the various, whether it's delinquent tax or it's through the tax assessor's office.
It's collected by the tax assessor, but the amount collected is for the 2016 and prior years.
Prior years.
Is what we're reporting.
But only to the tax assessor. It doesn't include the delinquent tax, or it does?
It's the delinquent taxes, but it is collected through the tax assessor.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any further questions?
No, sir.
All right, moving on to item 9A, approval of the human resources recommendations for school year 2017-2018. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Human Resources is submitting a list of recommendations under separate cover for discussion during closed session, and we are requesting action on this item.
I'll move that we approve human resource recommendations school year 2017-2018.
I have a motion from trustee Alvarado. Is there a second? Second from trustee Saldivar. Any questions? Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it, 5-0. Item 9B, Human Resources Employee Resignations for the school year 2017-2018. Dr. Gonzalez.
Human Resources is submitting a list of resignations for the 2017-2018 school year under separate cover for discussion during closed session. This item is for information only. No action is required.
All right. Item 9C, pending and/or potential litigation. Mr. Crane.
No report, Mr. President.
And possible real estate acquisition.
And no report, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Crane. Moving on to item 10A1, approval of agreement number 2017-087, Workforce Development Board Child Care Contribution. Dr. Gonzalez.
The district uses the Texas workforce to provide support for students and their families to find childcare, and we are requesting action on this item.
All right, what say you, board?
So moved.
Have a motion by trustee Aliceta.
Second.
A second by trustee Alvarado. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it, 6-0. Item 10A2, approval of memorandum of understanding number 2017-093 for Region 1 Education Service Center. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This memorandum of understanding is to provide vector software services via hosted online subscription to the district in the area of information systems. Vector services are designed to assist schools in increasing efficiencies and effectiveness of all school operations, and we are requesting action on this item.
Item sits before you, board. What say you?
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Aliceta.
Second.
A second by trustee Suarez. Any comments, questions, concerns? None being heard. All in favor of the approval of memorandum of agreement number 2017-093 for Region 1 Education Service Center signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it, 6-0. Item 10A3, approval of sole source purchase number 2017-099, Phonax Roger Digital Modulated System for Student Instruction. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The district utilizes this system for our regional school for the deaf students during instruction, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Saldivar and a second by trustee Aliceta. Any comments, questions, concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it, 6-0. For the next item, item 10A4, the approval of memorandum of understanding number 2017-100 between McAllen Independent School District and the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley for dual enrollment. I will be recusing myself as an employee of UTRGV. The proper paperwork has been filed, and Vice President Esparza will take over.
Item number 4, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The purpose of this memorandum of understanding agreement is for the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley is to facilitate the enrollment of eligible students from McAllen ISD in courses offered for dual credit on the campus of UTRGV. The UTRGV Concurrent Enrollment Program will provide the support services to enable enrollment in university courses for McAllen ISD, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Saldivar, second by Mrs. Aliceta. Any comments, discussion?
Just a quick question.
Mr.
Dr. Uvada, this also applies for online classes as well, right? So the student wants to take an online class through them.
Yes.
It covers that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I thought I saw that. That's it.
Anybody else? No, sir. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0, and 1 abstention.
Thank you, Vice President Esparza. Moving on to item 10C1, approval of the resolution to the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District identifying hazardous traffic conditions for the school year 2017-2018. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The Texas Education Code allows the Board of Trustees to obtain supplemental state funding for routes that are within a 2-mile radius and considered to be hazardous traffic conditions. And the resolution is the first step in the state's requirement for eligibility, and we are requesting action on this item.
What say you, board?
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Aliceta, a second by trustee Saldivar. Any comments, questions, concerns?
President,
Trustee Saldivar.
I see the list there. Have we compared this list to some of the information we received under the MGT report and some possibility that the board may need, in a workshop, and may begin to start looking at utilizing certain campuses and therefore routing might be the case?
I don't believe we've done that, sir, but that's something we can definitely do.
Okay.
We can sure follow up on that. What it is TEA has a checklist, and we go and evaluate our routes based on the checklist. If it meets, then it qualifies as a hazardous, and then we can put it on the list and provide transportation.
And one other follow-up real quick. Since we moved 3 campuses at the elementary and 1 at the middle school for international baccalaureate, and therefore students that want to go into that program at the middle school level will all be, no matter where they are going, has that been factored into this equation? Those routes for those students, or is that a secondary busing and it's not part of it?
What we're doing for that group is we're having them be picked up at their elementary school campus. So that's the system that we currently have in place right now. This is more for students that don't qualify because they don't live further than 2 miles away from school, but there may be a major thoroughfare that we consider to be dangerous, and the state says, well, because that child lives in that area, we can go ahead and pick them up and still receive state funding.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Just a follow-up question for Dr.
Trustee
Barrera.
Alvarado.
I remember in the past that we put this list out, and then we were contacted. It was one instance where a parent felt that their child needs to be bused.
Mm-hmm.
Can we amend this list later if we identify some additional routes, or is this the list?
It's qualifiable once a year.
Okay.
And so once we submit, then it runs its cycle for reimbursement, and then once we notice it, then we put it on the list and reassess it.
So we do identify something that will be for next year?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a motion by trustee Aliceta and a second by trustee Saldivar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 6-0. Item 10C2, approval of the final payment to 2GS LLC DBA Earthworks Enterprise for the competitive seal proposal number 2017-023, paving improvements for Morris Middle School, Milam Elementary, and Bulldog Drive. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. We are requesting approval of final payment for the paving improvements completed at Homer J. Morris Middle School, Ben Milam Elementary, and McAllen High School campuses. A walkthrough has been conducted at the project site. Facilities maintenance and operations staff has certified the request for final payment since all items listed on the punch list have been completed by the contractor, and we are requesting action on this item.
What say you, board?
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Saldivar,
Second.
second by trustee Alvarado. Any questions?
Question.
Trustee Esparza.
Dr. Barrera, I know we talked about this earlier today, and on Bulldog Drive, with all the rain we've been having, you said there's still some issue with, I guess, a little bit of flooding there. Is it as bad as it was before, or is it?
It's not as bad as it was before, but there is some, the flooding does occur there. We need to look at another, perhaps maybe a mound with some, so that allows the water to get up underneath it and on its way out.
When they did the repaving, they didn't do any type of drainage, it was just repaving?
They tore it down to the base and redid the base and then repaved over that.
Okay.
We didn't do any drainage of any kind.
Mr. President.
Trustee Suarez.
It was my understanding, Mr. Trevino and Dr. Barrera, that the city was actually going to take care of that. That was part of the deal, that they were going to actually look at the draining problem that we had there. That was the report given to us.
Mr. Trevino, do you want to come up to the podium, sir?
What ACE does, what report? Trustee
Well,
Weiss?
when we were, just trustee Swank, but when we were talking with report regarding the repaving of Bulldog Boulevard, we had asked the city if they would help us pay for it. Part of the discussion in that was that they were going to look at the drainage problem that we had there.
At one point, there was some discussion. I don't remember exactly what the outcome of it, but
I don't know the outcome.
or the main outcome of it was it's a private drive, and the city would not participate on it because of it being a private drive, school-owned drive.
I think the biggest issue for me, or I'm sorry,
Okay.
what, we didn't define the scope, so it's, not fair to y'all to kind of, talk about it afterwards. But, there is one area where it leads from the school to, where they cross the street to go to the band area.
To the career
That
tech.
area gets flooded, and I think there is some concern that some of the kids in the wheelchair or, that they can't pass through that. So it's probably something we need to look at down the road and help you identify, some resources for that. But, I think the other area is probably not as a priority in my opinion, but that area probably we should take a look at. Just my opinion.
Trustee Saldivar.
Thank you. I am a little bit at a loss because I would hope that this was a great opportunity for us to look at the drainage. I mean, you took it down to the base, that as you were leveling, and while there are no registers there for drainage, that's understandable, and that was not part of the plan, but one would have thought that we would have looked at the grading of it and seen that the water flow would have been moving to either side of the main building and the bend. I was hoping, I think a lot of us were, that this was a great opportunity. If you're taking it down to the base, you were building it up, that you would take that into account. We also knew as part of the assessment of that facility, water coming off the building and the changes that had happened to the backside of the building that was impacting drainage, that was really not part of the original design, because different pavement had been added, that would have been factored in as well. So I'm kind of at a loss that now that we've had rain, that we're still back to square one.
Trustee Aliceda.
I was just going to say, you already said it, it's not a city-owned street, it's a private drive. It's as though we put our own driveway in, and there is no drainage. There are no drains for the water to go down into. We're not tapped into any drainage.
There are inlets that provide the drainage to it. However, we're only as good as the outfall that we have on the city side. So the inlets are there. The only other option that we're going to have in the future is to add any more drainage to the service entrance that runs north and south between the softball field and the buildings, and catch another drain line that's on the north side of the campus.
On Tamarack,
On
and not Bulldog Drive,
From Bulldog Drive north,
over Tamarack.
on the service drive, between the
Yeah.
tennis courts and the building.
Right.
On the west side of the building.
Yeah. But as far as inlets, the inlets are there.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's a shame to be putting so much money into it. I mean, at one point, we did have a schematic design that did have closing that whole road off and just having the buses do a roundabout there. It might behoove us to look at that schematic design again, and when we do that, actually put in drainage that taps into the drainage below us, all that. That's another time.
Mr. Trevino, if you wouldn't mind trying to find that design and maybe email it to us so that we can take a look at it.
Yes, and at the point, at the time of the initiation of the project, drainage was not part of the scope. It was only a repaving because of the inlets or the outfall that's available to that area.
And just to add to your comment on that, thank you all for doing that in pretty quick turnaround, because we approved it kind of late, and y'all had a sense of urgency because of the games of Texas and all that. And that was a bad street anyway. I mean, it was, you could lose a tire or, but so I appreciate y'all doing that. And we now got to address the drainage.
Trustee Aliceda.
I will say drainage was put in at Morris Middle School. I don't know if we did that on our part or if it was part of this earthworks, but there was a nice drainage put in and down into the retention pond there. So
Yes.
Thank you for that.
All right. Any further comments, questions?
Yes, sir.
None being heard, all in favor of the approval of final payment to 2GS LLC DBA Earthworks Enterprise for the competitive seal proposal 2017-023 paving improvements for Morris Middle School, Milam Elementary, and Bulldog Drive, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it, 6-0. Item 10C3, approval of request for proposal number 2017-051, custodial supplies, equipment, paper, and plastic products. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The district purchases custodial supplies, equipment, paper, and plastic products for all district facilities and the child nutrition program, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
I have a motion by Trustee Alvarado. Is there a second? Second by trustee Suarez. Any comments, questions?
Just a quick question. The anticipated annual, we went up about 150. Is that just estimate, just in case?
Yes, it's
Okay.
just to give us a little cushion there in the
Cushion,
event that
okay.
something, yeah.
That's it, sir.
Any further questions? With none being heard, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 6-0. Item 10C4, approval of bid number 2017-052, glazing supplies and installation services. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Our district purchases glass, plastic products, and services on an as-needed basis, so we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Aliceta. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Suarez. Any questions? None being heard, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 6-0. Discussion and possible approval of formal quote number 2017-098, McAllen High School baseball field improvements and new sprinkler system. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. We are very interested in upgrades for the Mac High baseball field, and upgrades include regrading, resodding in its entirety, the whole field, and also a new sprinkler system. And Dr. Barrera and Ruben Trevino are here to elaborate on the Mac High vision with regard to what we want for our baseball field. But we are requesting action on this item.
All right.
Dr. B, Ruben?
Yes, sir. Contract price for this project's $152,000, and that consists of a base bid of $127,000. The $127,000 is for laser grading and for the resodding of the entire area, and then there's an alternate bid of an additional $25,000 that brings the whole total back to that $152,000 for the sprinkler system. And these are all the things that were figured into that. We have some funding available for that through the general fund, and our plan is it's got to get this underway fairly quickly. We did push pretty hard and worked with our purchasing department to put this together quickly so that we can get this all done in time for baseball season.
All right. Board, the item sits before you. What say you?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
On the motion, if it can be subject to final legal approval of the contract and also receipt and approval of both the performance and the payment bonds.
Yes, sir. Mr. Suarez?
Exactly what he said.
Unfortunately, Mr. Crane can't make that motion. So.
All right, Mr. Crane, what do I need to say, man? Right.
Motion for approval, subject to final legal review and subject to review and approval of both the performance.
Hold on, because you're asking for a lot here. Subject to legal review.
And final approval, receipt and approval of both the performance bond and the payment bond.
Performance bond and
The payment bond.
payment bond?
Payment bond.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question before. In my notes from last time we discussed it, it says McAllen has the budget to get it done, but not the other two schools. Why did I tell myself McAllen has the budget to get it done?
Well, with the assessment that we did, and we looked at all three of the baseball fields. Last time we talked a little bit about that with the report regarding and the condition of the fields and everything. The priority was that this field for some time was in need of repairs. And so we built that budget in, but in thinking that we'd do one, and we didn't want to aggressively get at all three, because if you did, then and we got into some bad weather, we'd actually put out all three fields and wouldn't be done in time for the start of the season. This way, we get one done and we can move to the others. We also will take into account some of the other fields. For instance, the softball fields need to be looked at as well, and then that figured into the phase 2 or the next steps that we were to do after the Mackay field.
So this was allotted in, when we voted on the budget back in June, or this was part of it, this is already in there?
It was part of it, but then through savings.
There have been
Through savings
along different projects that
Okay.
we've taken, and we've applied it to this.
Okay, but it's not coming from a booster club, I guess is my question.
no.
No.
Okay, it's coming
No.
from us. Okay, that's what I thought. Maybe I meant that they were paying for it. Okay, thank you so much.
Trustee Alvarado.
I missed discussion on this last time, but my understanding, speaking to a couple parents, and from all three schools, they were concerned about the safety of the school. That's the term. So can you elaborate that on me? Again, I apologize, I didn't hear the conversation, but there's some issue with the safety of the field at McAllen?
At this point, after taking the topography and doing the assessments on the drainage and the, if you can see on the report that was presented this last time, the drainage issues along with the elevations on the run baselines that we have were causing a safety issue at this time.
Okay.
And the directive from the board was to look at the pricing once it came in, put a budget together for the other two fields to be done at the end of the season with the same scope and size, and also look at the 3 softball fields and bring back that figure back up to the board so that a decision can be made to move forward at the end of the season.
In the memorial, one of the parents is aware of this, and they're in agreement with the timeline also, because I guess we did some work in Memorial Field a couple of years ago.
Memorial, I believe, had some drainage done about 3.5 years ago.
Right.
To the infield only. So the scope at Memorial might change a little bit, but not much. It would still need a complete regrading and resodding of the whole field.
And my understanding that the rural program, the coach is also in agreement that we wait till the end of the season.
At the end of the season, we'll be...
Right. And I just want to point that because we're definitely not prioritizing, or, they're all needed, but McAllen just needs it more at this point. Is that fair?
Fair. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Trustee Suarez.
I mean, there's going to be questions anyway, so I move to approve item 5C, subject to legal review and final approval of performance and payment bond.
Second.
Trustee Esparza.
Discussion.
Ruben, I have a quick question. I think Ms. Aliceda touched on this. This was not something that was budgeted for at the beginning of the year.
No.
Okay, so it was money that you managed to put together through savings. And now, I know we've had a lot of discussion regarding the science labs over at McAllen, and you talked about, because of not wanting to interfere with classes, starting that project towards the summertime. Do you have money for that? I mean, could we have used some of this money for that?
Well, that particular project is a board-approved agenda, board-approved project from the beginning of the get-go, from the budget for this fiscal year, so that remains with that.
You have money set aside?
As far as science labs, yes, that stays with that project.
And, Dr. Barrera, we had this discussion earlier, but I know that one of the concerns I guess, is the sprinkler systems and so forth at the campuses or on the fields there.
Right.
And just,
We're
watering.
currently addressing both baseball fields right now, Memorial and Row sprinkler systems through an outside contractor.
Okay.
That's in place right now.
Okay.
And just to follow up,
Yeah, go ahead.
your funding for that was also through savings?
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions? Mr. Suarez, if you wouldn't mind repeating your motion one more time.
It's on the record, brother.
We heard it.
Is there a second for Mr. Suarez? I have a second by Trustee Saldívar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it, 6-0. Item 10D1, approval of the McAllen Independent School District September budget amendment for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017, ending June 30th, 2018. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Administration is recommending the approval of the September 2017 budget amendment for the 2017-2018 fiscal year, and we are requesting action on this item.
What say you, board?
I move that we approve the budget amendment as submitted.
Trustee Saldívar has submitted a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Trustee Suarez. Any comments, questions?
On the preliminary, it's Ms. Garcia, right?
Yes.
He or she. On the preliminary ending fund balance for 80,000. I'm sorry, 8 million. 80 million. What is our what the state wants to have in reserve? Is that the 2-3 month? What's that figure?
The 2 months,
Is it 2 months or 3 months that they ask us?
it's for 2 months cash disbursements throughout the year. And, I don't have it with me, but
Just a rough estimate.
42 million.
it's
About 42?
about 39 million, I believe it is, Cindy? 39 million.
So it says 40, so are we saying that then that remaining 40 million, is that unrestricted, or am I interpreting this wrong?
No, that also includes assigned fund balance, and it also includes, the 80 million includes restricted fund balance as well.
Okay. What is our unrestricted, someone else?
Our
I'm not gonna hold you to
unassigned,
it.
well,
Just- Well, yeah,
okay.
well, probably, all right.
Our unassigned fund balance, we are currently undergoing the financial audit.
Okay.
And
If it's information you'd rather wait to give till next month or next meeting, that's fine with me.
we do have some estimates, however, there might be some changes that are coming up that could change that number, so that's
We can
kind of
discuss
why.
it next week, or next meeting, that's fine. Okay.
But it will be an increase from prior years. As a matter of fact, I mean, I could tell you where it was last year. I have it here. The report. Let me see. Last year, it was at 49.3 unassigned fund balance, and this year, we're projecting to have increased it.
Okay.
For the year ending June 30, 2017.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Ms. Garcia? All right, with that being said, the approval of the McAllen Independent School District September budget amendment for fiscal year July 1st, 2017, ending June 30th, 2018. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 6-0. Item 10D2, approval of renewal of request for proposal 2016-070, restaurants, food, fundraising, rentals, catering, field trips, and related products and services. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The district utilizes this bid for school fundraising products, programs, field trips, rentals, restaurants, catering, and related products and services on an as-needed basis, and we are requesting action on this item.
What say you, board?
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Alvarado,
Second.
second by trustee Saldivar. Any comments,
I'm
questions?
going to abstain from voting.
Trustee Suarez will be abstaining from the vote. Any comments or questions? None being heard. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The vote goes 5-0-1, 5-4, none against, and 1 abstention. Item 10D3, approval of the specifications and scope of services for request for offers number 2017-0106, McAllen Veterans Memorial Stadium scoreboard sponsorship and advertising. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The district will be requesting offers for a new field naming sponsor. Ms. Garcia will elaborate on the process, and we are asking for action on this item. Ms. Garcia.
What we're doing with this request for offers for the field naming rights for the stadium at McAllen Veterans, the football field at McAllen Veterans Memorial Stadium, to include the sponsorship and advertising rights, we are applying the best practice method that we utilize for typical purchase of goods and service type contracts. So what we're doing is advertising for a request for offers. A request has already been sent to the monitor to have this RFO advertised to the public for 2 weeks in the monitor. It'll appear for the first time, it'll appear this Wednesday, and then a week later after that. The RFO is set to close no later than, all bids should be received no later than 3 p.m. Wednesday, October 25th. And on there, the board has been provided with a copy of the draft specifications. The draft specifications have been a collaboration of Purchasing Department, Ms. Alejandra Gonzalez, as well as community information, going back and forth, reviewing the scope of work and what the marketing plan that's being offered throughout this. And in addition to that, Mr. Crane has reviewed the packet as well. There's still some minor details that we're seeking direction tonight from the board. First of all, One area would be in section 6.0, which delineates the payments and the due dates and so
Ms.
forth.
Garcia, I'm sorry to just cut you off, but we don't have the contract yet. We have the soft debate.
Yes, and I'm not sure that that's tied to another one, but it's in your board book now, SharePoint. We did not post it public because it is a draft at this point, and it will be officially released to the bidders on Wednesday.
So it's that draft request, is that the one?
Yes, it's a draft request, and then there's and also proposed changes to the exhibit. Those are the terms that we're currently deliberating with legal counsel and the Community Information Department to finalize that exhibit as to what's being offered. But one of the items that we would like for the board to consider is the length of the term of the contract, whether it be an 8-year, which is what the draft states, or a 10-year contract. The draft contains 8 years, and simply because we, by reducing the number of years, taking into consideration the $300,000 that's currently owed, that would give potential bidders possibly a lower cost annual payment that may be a lot easier to market than a higher one. The 10-year, we could also certainly list it at 10 years, but that would increase the annual payment cost as well, possibly. We have included in Section 7 a requirement.
Ms. Garcia?
Yes, sir.
Real quick. If we have an amount and we extend it in 10 years, the payments would be lower than they would in 8 years. Am I correct? Assuming, let's just assume that the balance that we want to cover is 300,000. So if we divide that by 10 years versus by 8 years, we probably get, assuming that that's what we want to do.
Assuming that was the minimum bid. Yes. However, what that would do is that would reduce the upfront payments for the next 3 years, and that would be below the minimum that we would want to request. So that's kind of why I say that going the 10 years would actually mean that we would have to increase the payment, accelerate it. So that our intention, of course, is to make sure that we receive enough revenue to make the payments that are due.
Just to clarify, and I'm going to go a little slow so I can make sure I understand. So you're saying that we want to make sure we collect enough payment, so by year 5 we have everything paid off?
Fully paid, yes, sir. Yes.
Actually, well, year 5 from the original start of
From the original
That's
start.
what I meant. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, sir.
You're right. You're right.
And we want to be able to make sure that the revenue that is generating through this contract, as well as others that we have in place, that we're able to make the lease payments that are due with that revenue.
And we're probably not in questions, but since we're kind of on a roll, just 2 weeks period, we come in, we open in, we select someone. Is that going to start immediately?
On October 25th is when the submittals are due to the purchasing department. At that point in time, we would be able to open the bids, evaluate them. We'd have a committee, a district staff committee evaluate that. And we would have to bring it back to the board for approval. And assuming that the contractor would then shortly thereafter agree to terms, then that's when the services could initiate. One of the recommendations that I'm making as well is that the first payment be provided to the district in December, and simply because the second payment, it would be advantageous to the district to have that in August, early August, because our payment is at the end of August, but we want to be able to have the funds deposited prior to that. So by spreading it out between December 31st, 2017, and then again August, it's not exactly 12 months, but it would give the sponsor the benefit of the 2 tax years.
And just one thing, if I can add to, because it wasn't in the original contract, whoever gets it, it's their responsibility to put up the sign. But I think, Mr. Crane, that we need to have some language in contract where we at least prove the quality of the sign. Because in the previous one, they,
You did?
I think we did.
Yeah, we do. I believe
is it on there? And I'm sorry, because I didn't read, I didn't know it was, I'm just skimmed over it. But in the last contract, when they changed it, we didn't have to approve the sign. It was just they got their own person to hire their own people, and they did it. I guess what I'm saying is I'd like to have a little bit more saying that, and right, because D-Tronics is the one that put up the other signs. If you lose another vendor, does it take anything from the warranty? Does it do anything, or should we be using the same D-Tronic? So I only bring it up because Daktronic. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Mr. Trevino, do you recall this? Because I know you were involved in. Do you have comment? Do you have any input on this matter?
That's the advertising. That's the content. That's a good point.
The original panels were provided by Daktronics. The contractor that was hired by the district to do the scoreboard. However, Daktronics hired a local vendor to provide us with the panels and the graphics that were district approved. When the name change became
responsibility of the
when the name change changed from the field this past time
from Fred's United Mix,
the vendor did their own graphics. My recommendation at the time was that we use the same local company that Daktronics had hired, and they said because it was I guess the vendor's responsibility, they were going to go with somebody that they could work with.
Right. Mr. Crane, I think it's worth our while to have included some type of language where we can at least see, what the sign is or what have you. Because this last time, it was a surprise to me. I just drove by, oh, there's United Mix, type of deal.
What the contract says is that the content is approved by the district, has to be approved by the district. But what you're raising, I think, is the panels themselves.
Yes, sir.
So you want the panels also to be approved by the district?
Well, because this last time they went with a different vendor that was less expensive than the one that was recommended. What happens if it doesn't meet the quality that we're looking for? We don't have any say in that. They pretty much can do what they want. And I'm not saying I'd rather just have a say, vote on it, just make sure it fits within the quality, because it's a very nice scoreboard. I mean, I'm sure they're going to want the best, but I just want to protect it. This is the time to do it, to put it in the contract now. I'll open it to anybody else if anybody else feels the same way.
Mr. President.
Just one thing to clarify. On the previous RFO or RFQs that were provided, the district or we were paying for the actual panels themselves.
That's
so
right.
That's where we could, choose
Yes, sir.
who we wanted. Now, on
They're
this
paying
new
for it.
one, is that part of the donation or part of the RFO to pay for the panel?
Well, that's a great point.
Or does it come with the donation, is what I'm saying?
That's a great point.
You see, that was actually the question I was going to ask, would it behoove us, when we originally started this project, the district paid for the panels, right? It was only on the renaming that it occurred. It was included in the bid that the panel was going to go up, and therefore we were going to be able to have quality control as to who installed it, and it was consistent with the rest of the panels on the scoreboard. Being that it's almost a new here that we're looking at, I would suggest to address Trustee Alvarado's is that we included the district. Obviously, the bid has to be a minimum of, but the minimum of include the cost of, and therefore it addresses this for this go-around.
So for clarification, not only do you want the content approved by the district, but also the panels upon which it's displayed approved by the district, and the cost of the panels would be at the cost of the sponsor.
Well, what I'm saying, the initial one, I agree with his comment that we pay for the first one. If whoever gets it, if they want to change your name down the road, it's at their expense, right?
Because that's the way we did it when we first started this project. Is
But they
it
have
was-
to use the contractors that we're.
Right,
Yeah,
if they change your name again, just not, they don't have carte blanche, they still have to come,
But-
through us. Yes, go ahead, Deb.
What if they change their name to Car Wash, but the contract is still with Marco's Burgers? And Marco's Burgers now said, now they did a side deal with me, and I'm now, you know what, I want to put Car Wash up there. He's like, all right, put it up there for a year, and I pay.
It can't
for
be
the-
assigned.
The contract says it can't be assigned.
No, I'm saying, let's say he has the contract. Let's say Marco's Burgers has the contract for the remaining 8 years.
Free advertisement, by the way.
And then he says, you know what, I'm going to let you have it for a year. You can put your family business on it. So now,
That would be an assignment of the contract, and that's prohibited.
We can't do it.
that same thing, we didn't just do that with Fred's Pharmacy, United
No,
Mix?
because
They bought the other company, the second company, but
Oh,
bought the
okay,
other.
so we're covered for
With
that.
that being said, you're more than welcome to buy it, Marco.
So we're covered. So the contract can't go, you can't, okay.
What I'm asking for, Mr. Crane, is I agree with, we'll pay for the panel, and that's just my opinion, we're discussing that. But what I'm saying is, if they decide to have a name change down the road, that still needs to come to us.
Well, us being the district. I
The
don't know,
district,
necessarily the board,
right,
but
not the board, whoever, right.
But within that language, I would think it should have that it needs to be consistent with the standards prescribed by the district. And the standards being that it has to be a certain thickness, certain dimension, which are clearly part of the original schematics.
Yes.
And you would, knowing you would refer back to the schematics. Yeah.
Trustee Suarez.
And if we're giving direction, I think that's a good direction, Lauren. I think we should get with Ruben to see what that panel costs and incorporate that in the minimum bid.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we lay it out.
It's up 4,000,
Like that, it's already covered.
4 to 5, depending on the graphics, yes.
4,500?
about 4 to 5,000.
45,000?
No, 4 to
4 to
5.
5,000.
4 to 5,000.
Yes, sir.
What you think?
All right, any further questions?
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just that I understand that there is some interest in community with it, so I think it's a proven commodity. There's a little bit of excitement out there that there's a chance it came open, and we're not in a situation where we're desperate. We're actually in a position where, we're taking our time, we're being methodical, and hopefully, we'll have some good bids, and then we can kind of go from there.
And, Mr. President, for clarity, I just realized what I said, and I don't want to misunderstand. The district is not paying for the panels.
Right.
It's within the bid itself.
Right.
And therefore, within the bid itself, I'm glad we're clear,
Right.
because I don't want to be coming back like, wait a minute, you said no tax money was going to be, and the district spent $5,000 to put the name change. No, within the bid itself, it's already incorporated that minimum bid is that amount for that panel is in that minimum bid. And therefore, now the district has the ownership and the decision-making in the hiring of the vendor, et cetera, to put the actual panel up based on what the individual that won the bid is desiring, whether it's so-and-so or so-and-so name.
I'm sorry, Larry.
That, just to be clear, it's not the district paying for it.
Trustee Esparza.
On the Exhibit B, it talks about a backlit illuminated display face on the scoreboard. That one didn't have a light, did it?
Yes.
It does? Oh, I saw it dark up there, I didn't think it had a, okay.
Yeah, and that's for that reason, is when they changed it, it wasn't as clear as the original, so it was darker on the second time around, yeah.
So it will be lit up from, okay.
Yes, sir.
And then, I guess we need to decide this right now, or give them some direction, whether it's going to be for 8 years or 10 years. I like the idea of just going 10, because it's where we were at the beginning. I don't know how everybody else feels.
I agree with you.
I agree with you.
And then, I talked to you about this, Lorena, during our committee meeting, but, and I read it in the contract where the requirements, once this bid proposal goes out, that there's not any communication. So if a sponsor contacts one of us, then we need to tell them, hey, speak with purchasing.
Yes, sir.
And they'll tell you what the requirements are, So we don't get in a situation promising one guy something and the other person something else. So everything will be dealt with. 'Cause I think in the past, some of the board members were on the committee, right?
The first
time around?
RFO, yes.
Yes.
So what, but that's not going to be the case this time around?
No.
It shouldn't be.
Shouldn't. It's
Well,
That was actually
Let me
for
clarify.
the design of the scoreboard.
yeah, there wasn't a board member on the committee. There was board members doing presentations, but there wasn't a board member on the committee.
Oh, okay, I thought she told me there was two board members.
Oh, when we opened the bids.
Oh, we were in the room, but we didn't choose which vendor.
But to his comment, I think
We
he's
stayed
right, that,
completely clear.
right,
Yeah.
any
Right.
vendor calls this,
Yeah,
whoever,
no.
we, like anything else, or any RFQ,
So they-
that's sent to them.
Yeah, so they don't get into a situation, he told me we could get this and
Yes.
That's actually why we're being very careful and very methodical about going over the inventory list and exactly what we're promising for field naming rights. We want to make sure that we're very clear about what we're offering up front, so hopefully all questions are answered right off the bat.
that's all right.
All right. Trustee Eliseda.
I have a question. I thought we were talking an 8-year contract so that we're in the same timeline as everybody else doing the 10 years, the 5 years, the 10 years, and so it's all paid off. But then somebody just said, no, we're going to do 10-year. Isn't it smarter to stay with the timeline already so that everybody's in the same cycle? Because if we switch it from 8 years to 10 years, now they're out of sequence.
Well, this would be the only one that's a 10-year. The other ones, the anchor sponsors are 5-year contracts.
Right.
So it wouldn't, they're not the same. This is 10, those are 5.
The naming rights contract was always a 10-year contract.
Right, and I thought we were staying within the parameters of that 10 years, and we're just trying to get somebody to finish that contract. So I thought we were going out for an 8-year to finish up the parameters of that 10-year, and thereby they're saving that $200,000 that's already been paid. But now you're saying we're giving them a 10-year for the amount of,
No, we're not saying anything.
No, we're not
I think
That's
it's
part
up to
of
us to decide if we want to
yes.
go eight.
There was a
Yes.
suggestion by trustee
oh, okay, I thought I
Esparza
read in
that
there
was
that
a
it said
10.
8.
No, I think the years were left blank.
No, it says 8.
It does say 8.
Oh, that's
The
right.
draft,
Right.
the draft is proposing 8, and the reason behind that
That's a
was
good
so
one.
that we could offer a lower annual payment,
Right.
but still be able to receive enough revenue to make that payment that we're obligated to. If we were to change it to 10 years, we would need to raise the minimum bid.
Right, so leave it at 8. So the suggestion is leave it at 8.
Actually, the suggestion
My
was,
suggestion was leave it at 10, but it's up to the board.
Well, Can I make a suggestion?
Trustee Suarez.
There's no reason why we can't outline, if we do a 10-year, that there's a minimum payment for the first 3 years.
yes.
We could.
And then, for example, if the bid is $100, they have to pay $10 the first 3 years, which is $30, and the rest can be divided in the next 7 years. To us, as long as we get the first 3 years that we need to pay off the scoreboard, the rest is gravy.
I'd hate to see us be locked into a contract, though, when then we find out, you know what, we could have sold it for this amount of money, but we're locked in for another 2 years at this amount of money. I think it gives us more options, more flexibility if we keep it current at the 8 years, and they're already getting a good deal because they're already not having to pay the entire amount. So I would move that we keep, or I would suggest that, as you recommended, we keep it at the 8-year contract.
Well, Mr. President,
Trustee Saldívar.
bring up excellent, valid points. The one thing, though, this is a totally new contract. This is a totally new contract. So we could decide that the minimum bid is back to the 500 for 10 years. We could.
Okay.
But I see your point that if we're going to take a lesser amount, then 8 makes kind of sense, taking in mind that even though it's a brand-new contract, it's the balance of what we originally were planning to recoup, and therefore it gives us some flexibility down the road. So that's a valid point.
I have maybe an option is do the 8-year for, the 300 or whatever, and the 10-year is a little bit higher. And I say that too because on the contract, there is a point there that we're putting the name on the field, right? That's a little different than...
Actually, that's currently being debated. We were actually going to recommend removing that.
Well, if we decide to include that, then that justifies a little bit higher fee.
Wait,
Maybe
on the
go 10 years.
AstroTurf?
The
Oh,
ori-
no, that's not what we're in
Hold
conversations
on.
here about.
Well, okay. The original proposal, when all of this was brought out, and it's not in the middle of the field. It's on the sideline.
It's like at Nicky Rowe where they're on the goal line.
Right. it's a
Or
goal
or
line.
at
It's not
Memorial.
like in the middle of the field, car wash.
Right.
You know, it's on the side of the field.
You can hardly see it during
You
the
can
game
hardly-
because everybody's standing there.
But it was a selling tool to get more money.
And that is, presently, it was on the original, and we're wanting to, we're actually discussing removing that.
I agree with that.
I would agree with that. Well, if we're looking at recommendation, I think if we were to go back to a 10-year new contract for a minimum bid of 5,
And see if there's takers, or if not, do the,
yeah. But again, this is minimum bid. If we're looking to make sure that we're covered, then it may behoove us to stay with a minimum bid of 305 or 310 to cover the naming thing, and for 8 years, and then we'll see where we are.
When you put it out, you don't put, I mean, you know what the minimum bid is. You don't put that information out, right?
well, they know now.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Well, we did.
They will
we're
as soon as they
talking
watch
about it
this
right
meeting.
now.
I said, well, I purposely said if we were to do the minimum.
We actually did the last time. We
Yes.
gave
Yeah,
them
you
a
put the
minimum.
minimum
And
amount. Of course you
yes,
do.
we think that's important, that we want, I mean, our priority is to make sure that we make
Serious
those
people.
payments and honor the zero interest rate that we offer to our taxpayers. So we think for that reason, it's critical that we say, here's the minimum amount.
Can we have it then, a minimum amount for the 10 years? I mean, because we're saying that there's a minimum for the 8 years. Can we include the minimum amount for 10 years? And that would satisfy, you know, because it gives a little bit more additional money.
Yeah, so you're saying do 2, you could either opt 8 at the certain amount or 10
Yeah.
at the full amount. Yeah, and then see if there's any takers.
This would be a big one. Well,
Can't hurt.
Yeah.
And
Options are
I
always
mean,
good.
8 years is a great deal. I mean, it's a great deal. But if someone, I can see if they want to do 10 years, we might as well see if we can work
Go back
it
to,
out.
I think going back to the original, which is 10 years at 5.5. Include the 5,000 for this actual name change, minimum bid.
At that price, I'll give them the name change on the thing. Sorry.
What's the administration's thoughts on that suggestion?
I like the flexibility of both. It allows us to have more diversity in people bidding, and it shows to the community that we're flexible. So if we can have an 8-year and a 10-year option, I think it's a win-win.
And whoever wins it, we'll dress up as, we'll take turns doing the mascot for the games for the first couple of years. I mean, whatever we have to do.
All right, board. We have it laid out.
Mr. Crane, do we need approval to actually?
I think you just need to give directions.
I think we just need to give the direction of it. So, Doc, I think the direction that we want to do is have the 2 bids, the one minimum for 8 and then the one for 10 at the original bid price,
Can you repeat that again? Tony?
Minimum bid.
minimum bid price.
Tony, can you repeat that slowly, please? You like them apples?
Just to make sure that we get that covered and
Take out the name on the.
take off the name on the field.
And also, if you can, the second, if they need to rename the field, that still needs to come back to the board. I mean,
Right.
whatever you need.
And just for clarification, are we saying the 8 for 300,000 and the 10 for 500?
Minimum bid.
Minimum bid.
Well, no, it's
Is that a-
305
Yeah,
Is
or
that-
3, because we got to include the name, the cost
Yeah.
for
it's
the
5.5, yeah.
305.
Well, the
305
way we
or
just
505.
changed it based upon the discussion of the board is it's
Oh.
going to be, the sponsor has to pay for the content and the panel,
That's correct.
Correct.
okay? So
No,
minimum
no,
would.
what we had said was-
On initial, no. If content changes, the content has to be approved, and.
Yes, sir.
And the new panel would have to be paid for by them.
Yes, sir.
So initially, the initial panel will be paid for us.
Yes, sir.
So that would not
They
be
thought from the bid.
Years from now.
But yes, sir.
from the bid,
Yeah.
right?
Not from
The
funds.
contract has always said that is a cost incurred by the sponsor,
Right,
and it should remain that way.
yeah.
So just to clarify, if just because Trustee Alizada used the name, so let's be consistent. So if Marco's Burgers decides to bid and gets the contract, in 2 years from now, I change my logo, I have to pay for it to get changed up there and get it approved by the district.
Exactly.
And you have to pay for the new panel.
Okay. Good. Okay.
But the language isn't there now
Yes, it is.
about the panels being approved before you put them up, is it?
It is that the panel is approved and that the panel costs are accrued by the sponsor. The difference is that we now need to make sure that we include that the specifications and all that is in line with the original construction.
There you go. Thank you.
And just one,
District approved installed.
Well,
just
the
one
way,
quick,
just to answer that question, the way we've changed the contract from this discussion, if the content changes during the term, the new panel has to be paid for by the sponsor.
By a district-approved
We
installer.
would approve it, but
No, but not,
But they-
it's got to be done by a district-approved installer. So if Steve Crane's crane company comes out and hangs the first logo, and they decide that in 2 years, Marco's Burger is now going to change their logo up, they have to go back to Steve Crane's crane company.
to a district-approved vendor.
Correct.
But the matter of who pays for the change has always been the
Absolutely.
sponsor, and that is in fact why we have not changed. We have taken everything else off, but we have not changed the actual sign because that will be what the new sponsor will.
Trustee Aliceda.
So one more wrench in there. So let's say you get back 3 proposals, all for the same dollar amount. Then is there the process of a committee and they rank them?
We would be negotiating the marketing plan because one of the things that we're basically saying is that the sponsor could provide a marketing plan, and so we would want to negotiate that to the district's advantage.
One more thing.
Trustee Suarez.
Sorry. In that proposal, in doing that, I would like to somewhere see a credit reference from their bank, just to make sure that their financials will.
We
I believe
made
that was
another
added.
change,
Okay.
so the board knows. With the new specs, they have to furnish either a letter of credit or a surety bond to cover the entire cost of the term.
Yeah, and it's already in the document.
That's already in that document.
That was
I
That's
saw that a
new.
minute ago, that's good.
So if the bank provides a letter of credit for them, we're good, right? Because the surety bonds, it's kind of expensive. It's going to really add to their
They have a
cost.
choice of which one they want to use.
Okay.
just one last question as far as the timeline, because there's rumors out there that the city might be sponsoring a major event at the stadium sometime in November. I don't know anything other than that. Are we trying to get this done by, mid 30 days?
We want to make
45
sure that
weeks?
it's done properly
Right.
to the benefit of all parties involved. So if that takes 30 days or 60 days,
No, I understand that.
we
So
just want to
put
make
this out
sure
for
that it's
2
all
weeks.
done above board.
Right.
Well, but this sponsor has paid through till January, so we cannot take their name down till.
But
Actually-
in the termination agreement we approved,
Last Monday.
they have last Monday, they have no further rights. They
And-
gave
Oh,
up
so we
that.
can make it tomorrow.
And our next payment is not due until August, so we're
And
in
I'm
good
saying that
shape.
because I think if I'm wanting to bid on this, you still got some prime time, you have that, you have playoffs,
Yeah,
you have some major events. So I'm not trying to say that we're.
You're not going to put your
locked
face
into
on
it.
there, are you?
So I'm just trying to say is it realistic that we can get this done in, 6 weeks?
Well, it closes on the 25th, so it will probably take the company, let's say, assuming that week we evaluate and start negotiating with the highest bidder. It'll take the company about a week to get the letter of credit, because we've already called the bank and kind of get information on that. A surety bond may take a little bit longer. And then once that's ready, we can either take it to the next available board
Or
meeting
have
in
a board meeting
November
special
or
one,
have a
yeah.
special one.
But it doesn't take that long to put the sign. It takes a day.
Well,
Once you
manufacturing.
get to design and all that.
Well, I'll have to submit the graphics to
Sure.
the district so that they can get approved first.
Right.
And that'll have to coincide with the board meeting to present them.
Just put it out there in case someone's listening and they're curious. It can
by the end of November is not unrealistic.
It's very possible.
We have an award-winning staff, sir.
You're right, we do.
All right, any further questions or comments? I think we've laid out the specifications of what it is that we're looking for. I think we are good to go.
Yes, sir.
So item 10E, the superintendent's items. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. At our General Assembly on Monday, August 21st, we welcomed all of our employees back, and we also had some special introductions from 6 elementary age children, and they told us about their dreams for a bright future, and in that moment, our team was united around doing what it would take to help them accomplish these dreams. So some of our students had dreams of becoming medical doctors or presidents or CEOs of companies and things of that sort. Since that day, we've been collecting numerous personal testimonials from many more students and some parents as well. So we're trying to create this movement where we start to understand what the dreams of our students are. And then we want to take it a step further and reach out to all 7 continents where we're actually tapping into schools across the world and trying to get this movement, because we know at the end of the day, students have dreams, not only in our district, but across the world. And we have a short video to highlight some of the things that are going on that we're trying to replicate.
My dream after high school is to be an art therapist, and I plan on applying to a university in Texas. So I'm going to double major in art and psychology, and I'm going to go and pursue my master's degree in art therapy.
Right now I'm in an animal science class, so I'm learning all the parts of the bodies of animals, their bone structures, how they function, and also I'm doing that with human bodies in the clinical class. My dream is to be a veterinarian.
I'm getting my associates within criminal justice, hopefully getting my bachelor's within business management. And the reason why I choose policing is because I want to pursue business policing management to go ahead and be able to help anyone that I can within helping them from crime, from not crime, and just having that sense of attendance to caring.
The district has prepared me with a great AP programs. You know, McAllen has a great AP programs, and the teachers there are great. So I feel like I really, they taught me so well, and I can carry that through college and carry that through my job as an orthopedic surgeon.
So thank you for the opportunity. Another thing we've done is we've started meetings with our presidents. So the student council presidents and class presidents for all of our high schools are represented here once a month, and it's been a powerful experience. We bring them into our directors calibration meeting. They actually go in with our executive leadership team and they share ideas with us. So we want to really spearhead and leverage this group of students as we get out into the community and tell our story. So we're learning a lot from them, and we want the community to do the same. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Item 10F1, the board member report regarding the 2017 TASA-TASB Convention and Delegate Assembly. I was able to represent McAllen at the TASA-TASB Convention this weekend in Dallas. Great time. Managed to pick up some more continuing education credits, and got to hear a powerful keynote speaker, John Quinones from Channel 5's ABC News, What Would You Do? Unfortunately, it was cut short due to, we're not sure if somebody pulled a fire alarm or what, but it was a great experience overall. From our neighboring district, Patty Ocaña Olivares, representing Mission Consolidated ISD. She was elected to the state board of directors, so we want to wish her the best of luck as she does her best to represent us there. And overall, a great time. We do want to remind you that the Winter Governance Conference is coming up November 17th and 18th on South Padre Island. So if you have not had the opportunity, please get with Natalie so that we can schedule your rooms. But that is my report from the TASA-TASB Convention this past weekend. Item 10F2, discussion and possible nomination of Hidalgo County Appraisal District Board of Directors for 2018-2019 and approval of the resolution. So, the nominees that we have so far include Richard Garza, Alex Ballesteros, Albert Cardenas, and Tom Wingate. Would anybody like to add a nominee to that list? Again, the nominees are Richard Garza, Alex Ballesteros, Albert Cardenas, and Tom Wingate. Do we want to add anyone else to the list? Here's your opportunity.
Can I ask Mr. Garza, Richard?
Richard Garza? I believe it's from Big Realty.
Big Realty?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
sir.
currently on the,
He's currently there
He's
already.
currently there? Okay.
Yes.
seeking reelection.
And then Mr. Wingate?
Mr.
That one?
Tom Wingate?
Okay.
Senior.
Senior, that's it, okay.
See, the judge?
Okay. No further nominations? So whereas the Board of Trustees for McAllen ISD are authorized to make the nominations for each position to be filled in the Hidalgo County Appraisal District Board of Directors, and whereas these directors will serve a 2-year term beginning January 1st, 2018, and that all taxing entities associated with the Hidalgo County Appraisal District are authorized to nominate one person for said board, and whereas the Board of Trustees for McAllen ISD must submit the names of the nominees by written resolution to the Chief Appraiser by October 15, 2017, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees for McAllen ISD, that the nominees are Richard Garza, Alex Ballesteros, Albert Cardenas, and Tom Wingate Sr., nominated by the Board of Trustees of McAllen ISD to the Hidalgo County Appraisal District Board Directors. Furthermore, the Board of Trustees for McAllen ISD directs the Chief Appraiser to submit said nomination for consideration by all taxing entities within the Hidalgo County Appraising District for the upcoming district election. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion from Trustee Saldivar. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Aliceda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. This is passed and approved 6-0 on this 9th day of October 2017.
That's correct. Once the slate is out.
So the final approval of the Board of Education meeting minutes. 3A, special board meeting September 11, 2017. 3B, regular board meeting September 11, 2017. 3C, special board meeting September 19, 2017. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Trustee Suarez, a second by Trustee Esparza. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 6-0. Schedule of future meetings, October 23rd, 2017 is our regular board meeting at 5 p.m. here in the boardroom. October 23rd, special board meeting at 6:15, our public comment section here in the boardroom of the administration building. There is no need to go to closed session. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn.
I have a motion by Trustee Saldivar, a second by Trustee Suarez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The ayes carry it 6-0 at 9:55. This meeting is adjourned.